I'll open it up that way.
Yeah, I'll do it right now as soon as it loads up.
Yeah, I still don't get that.
All right, I'm going to share it with you now. Messenger. Okay. Shaw. Messenger. I guess I'm going to have to copy the freaking link. Technology is weird, man. It's either really good or everything's super complicated.
Yep.
All right, let's see. I guess I'm going to have to copy the freaking link. Yeah, I got your audio too, man. It's either really good or everything's super complicated. Yep. Okay. Oh,
Are we
snap.
live yet?
Yeah, we are. We got DEFCON Clark in here too, man. Met DEFCON
Sweet.
in person at NAMM. Lover of gear. Okay, edit post. I need to put the word live.
Yeah, let me share this on my page. Let me see here.
I bet we're going to have some familiar faces pop in today. Some familiar faces. Hopefully some old friends. But yes, DEF CON. Salutations, bro. I miss your face. So, Jarrod.
Yes, sir.
Have you purchased any music gear during the current state of the union?
The last thing I purchased was a couple of weeks ago, and I got the Bogner Uberschall Synergy module.
Oh, you did? You did end up buying that?
Yeah, yeah. I traded in my Friedman module for it, and paid a couple extra bucks and got the Bogner. The Bogner's way better.
Wasn't feeling it.
So no, the Friedman amps and stuff are decent. I definitely know why people like them, but they just don't work for what I do. I need stuff with a lot of aggression and fullness, and the Bogner definitely had that, and the Friedman did not. The Friedman it was just okay, for metal.
Yeah,
You know,
I see a lot of guys that like they do the kind of modern tapping thing. They seem to like the Friedman stuff, like the BE 100 or the Deluxe.
yeah,
Sammy Buller's an excellent example of that.
yeah,
He's obviously a Friedman artist, and you were up there at Motor City Guitar when he was doing the clinic with Dave, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
So like
yeah.
that's
He's
that's a
great
good
guitar player.
example, but you know, aside from the Jerry Cantrell, it's more for like hard rock dudes for sure.
Yeah, classic rock, hard rock, dad rock, stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's not really much of a metal type
You
amplifier.
have to be a
They
freaking lawyer to afford it.
yeah, yeah. We can get into the pricing of that stuff. I'll be like brutally honest about that if you want.
For sure, man. No, I'm totally down because you're a consumer advocate. I'm a consumer advocate, and
Yeah,
we have a lot of conversations on the phone and privacy about some of this stuff, and I kind of want to
yeah.
feel out the floor. We only got 5 people in here. I'm not sure if you can share it to your community tab on your YouTube channel, but if you
Let
if you
me see.
if you did that, like just took a screenshot of this, and can you do it from your phone?
Think so. Let me see here.
And I know you can share a link because that'll probably drive traffic over here. We got 7 in here now. I want to see some comments flying, guys, because we're gonna be talking about some spicy
Some of this
meatballs
stuff.
tonight. Oh, you gotta turn your freaking volume down, Jared.
Turn my volume down, sucker. All right. Let me take a screen shiggity. Let me find a better view of you. You look weird. You had derpy face when I froze it.
I looked like that one.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen the movie Mask?
oh yeah. Yeah, let me just do the. Let me just copy the link here. Come on. Copy link. Go to my community section. Let's see here.
If you share it, they will come.
Let's see. Paste.
I guess Darren Moore says he's still at work. Well, you should probably quit your job then. I'm for real, man. The big three automakers and stuff, they closed down production, and that's huge to kind of try to slow this virus spread down. Which I'm affected by that, but it's my first week working from home. They let us take our, equipment we needed home, and it's been weird. Still productive, yet weird.
There we go. It's in my community section. And let me go ahead and share it here.
Share. And today's podcast is brought to you by Dirty Bastard. And what are you sipping on, Jarrod?
I'm actually drinking a I don't know. It's called Eco Drink. So yeah,
I'm drinking
I'm
Eco Light.
keto. Yeah, I'm keto right now, so I'm trying to watch what I eat. I got about 12 more pounds to lose, and then I can start partying a little bit.
Dude, so where did you start at the beginning of the year before you picked up keto?
Weight wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I was around 217. I'm down to 210, and I just started keto about 3 weeks ago. So, and I'm doing Cheeto because I still have whiskey every once in a while on my channel, and I'll eat stuff here and there that I'm not supposed to, but just every once in a while I just got to eat whatever I got, because I'm a contractor driving around doing jobs and stuff. So it's not always keto friendly stuff available, but I stick with it about 95%, and it's working. I got probably another month and a half, and I'll be down to my fighting weight again and feeling pretty good. So, just got to do it.
Yeah, good for you, man. And obviously, last year you inspired me. I'd say most out of anybody. It was kind of a mix of, as the stuff I was going through earlier on in the year, 2019, and just some stuff really got me down. And I looked to you for some advice on like protein and what kind of exercises to do. And I hit the gym really hard all last year, and I was dedicating at least an hour and a half every day, every other day in the gym after work to that that I possibly could. And even when I was on the road, in my tour bus, we have different shelves that are labeled with our names on it. So like when you change out of your normal clothes, you change into your Rockstar shows clothes, and you put all of your belongings in your drawer. So it's organized. It's not a bunch of clutter on the bus. People aren't tripping around stuff or trying to use counter space. It's just better that way for everybody to be organized and not just like all fully cluttered. But yeah, I just have 2 20-pound weights in my drawer, and every show, like I get to have those with me and like, just kind of pump up before the show and stuff. And probably the past 3 or 4 months, I haven't really been super dedicated to it, and it sucks because now, we're looking at the next few months, no shows, and
yep, you got to stay dedicated with it, man. It's true. Like if you don't use it, you lose it. You really do. At my age, especially you go 3 weeks without working out. You really notice the deflation in the the areas that you don't want to deflate, and inflation in the areas that you don't want to inflate. So it's weird, so you just got to watch it. I mean, it's nice to be young, but it still does catch up to you eventually. And with you got to eat right. I mean, there's just, oh my god, I got to eat like 220 grams of protein a day, or else I shrink. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work maintaining whatever you have. I mean, you literally have to count your protein, intake. You have to keep track of it. And if you do um fall short of that, you will lose muscle. It's just like building a house. When you run out of lumber, the house doesn't get built,
Yeah.
and you got to keep lumber always readily available, or else things start, you got a two-story house that turns into a ranch.
Yeah, I
you
mean
know
that's something I had to
so
watch too. Is like when I stopped going as frequently. It was like right after Punta Cana in November, and I kind of settled
yeah.
down, got a girlfriend and stuff like that, and um, I was really busy with shows and all that stuff, and it's not an excuse, but I was just burned out, man, and so
Yep.
I had to slow down my protein intake for that
Hmm.
entire duration, so I wasn't just you know overloading my body with stuff that it wasn't even going to use or burn or put to use,
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, you still got to eat it though, because
yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, even if you're not quote unquote using it or lifting, maintaining, um, what you have, you got to eat that protein. I mean, I learned that the hard way when I dislocated my shoulder a couple years ago. I couldn't lift for like, gosh, I couldn't go to the gym for like 6 weeks, probably longer. I think it was like 4 months before I could go back and lift light weights. I got off the diet, I got off everything, gained 25 pounds, lost so much muscle mass. It wasn't even funny. From the neck down, I was unrecognizable. And it was so weird how fast I lost everything I wanted and gained everything I didn't want. And I didn't maintain the diet. That's why. If I look back in time, I wish I would have just kept eating right and just kind of stayed in shape, and I would have lost some muscle mass still, but I wouldn't have been like, in the bad shape that I was in. So now I had two uphill battles. I had to gain all my stuff back and lose all the crap I didn't want anymore. So I lost it was awful,
yeah,
So, but that is a testament. Like, it really is what you eat. Like, people don't realize that. Like, I met lots of people like Neil Spruce back in the day, you know, he used to be Mr. Olympia contender back in the 80s and stuff. And he did a nutrition analysis meeting at our gym, and he even said, um, you know, I don't look like I used to, and it's not because I don't lift like I used to. I still lift hard. I just don't eat like I used to. I'm not eating 5 chickens a day. I'm not eating all that crazy stuff. So he would literally eat several like whole chickens. Like, it's crazy what these guys have to eat to maintain everything. And he still looked good, but he just wasn't as big as he used to be. And
right.
that's really what it is. So, looks like we got more people in here. I'm looking Ben Burnett. What's up, buddy?
Let's take a look.
Warm chord music. Jay, he said Cheeto here too. Down 6 pounds in a couple of weeks. Some bourbon here and there, but otherwise pretty strict with it. Yo, Mofo, what's going on, buddy? Um, let's see. Oh,
Congrats on Warm
Chromometer is
Chord,
a
by the way.
great app to track macros. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I actually used to do that. I used to I have an app, I can't remember the name of the food app that I used to track my macros, but I did that for a while, and man, I was in the best shape of my life. It was right before I dislocated my shoulder, and I was counting everything, but it was super easy. Like, you could scan food that you ate, you could scan the barcode and it would pop it all in there for you. And
That's
I was
crazy.
yeah, it was super easy because like and then you could like eat certain meals every day that had certain ingredients, and then you could like make it a meal and you could call it whatever you want, like egg cakes or this or that, and it knew all the ingredients. You just type it in, it knew all the stuff in there
And it helps
because
you
you already
plan your
loaded it
day.
in once. Yeah, it was an awesome app. I still have it in my phone. I just haven't used it in a couple years because I'm still hitting the gym, still working out, but I'm not as serious as I used to be. But I have to get serious again, or else, at my age, it's like you really have to pay attention more. Once I turned 50, it seemed like everything started getting, harder. So,
It's typically how
yeah,
it goes, man.
yeah. I mean, hey, it's better than the alternative, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, seeing as that we all want to be around forever or as long as possible to spend time with our families and whatnot, um, you said you're a contractor. I already know this, but there's people on my channel that don't know who you are yet, don't know what you do,
Oh, okay.
and so I want people to understand what your background is. So you're Jarrod of Tone Wars, which we'll get to
Yes.
that, but you're also Jarrod of you own your own power washing business,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you're just a one man team. Is that right?
Yeah. I am now. I downsized back in 2008, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best worst thing that ever happened to me. I mean, everybody knows 2008 almost put everybody out of business and was very hard. I had 5 trucks, 5 crews, an office. I had a bunch of jobs. We did about 36 fleets, truck fleets, plus we did over 200 to 300 residential jobs every year. We were a 6 day a week operation, and 2008 hit, and I lost about 34 of my fleets within 8 months. You know, because of the gas prices and diesel prices and people closing up shop and everything. So I lost a huge amount of our bread and butter money. So I just told, and then of course homeowners weren't, investing into their houses anymore because their payments doubled and their
The
value of
mark
their house
is
got cut in
tanked.
half. So it happened to me too. So like everyone was just pissed off at their house and didn't want to clean it or do anything with it anymore, but sell it and steal all the brass pipes out of it.
Just
So
walk outside. You see like your neighbor just like at their house. Like, what? Hey, John, are you okay, man? No, I'm
I'm
really mad at my house right
just
now.
arguing with my house right now.
Sign
So sick of
language.
you and your stupid windows. Yeah. So like, I had to survive that, and I downsized, and it was like an unfortunate thing to my ego, but not to my wallet, because I actually uh, learned that, I don't need to do a million jobs a year to make money. I'll just downsize and do the ones I need to do and not have to worry about all the employee issues, and cut all my costs, shut down my office, run the business out of my house, and get a van with a really good rig in it that I can go out and work in by myself. And that's what I do. I watched 40 school buses today, and here I am.
So how do you do that? How many hours does that take? And what kind of tools do you use? I heard you're an inventor of sorts.
Oh yeah, yeah. 40. It takes about 4 hours or so. Yeah, I invented a four-way nozzle holder back probably like 15 years ago, and they actually named it after me. If you look it up, you can Google it. It's called the J-Rod four-way nozzle holder, and it really took off. Unfortunately, I don't get any royalties or payments out of it because I was stupid back then and didn't find a way to patent it, and everybody just started making it and selling it, and there's just no way I can do anything about it now. So it sucks, but I could be retired, to be honest with you, because they sell probably, I don't know, tens of thousands of these things every year. Every pressure washer in the world's got one, or probably 10 of them because they're so valuable. But um, anyway, so I just use. You're asking me how long does it take? I mean, I do 4 hours to wash 40 buses. Something like that. I mean, with the equipment that I have and experience that I have, it's about what it takes.
Yeah.
I wash houses. I've washed huge apartment buildings, stuff like that by myself.
You want to like tell a PC like a like just like a dumbed down version of that. What was it last year? You were washing an apartment and the dude, dude, you gotta
Yeah,
tell that.
I've seen some stuff, man. I watched. I was washing an apartment building. Was it last summer?
Yeah, we were on the phone.
Yeah, it was either last summer or the summer before. I'm trying to remember. Um, Was I on the phone with you when that happened?
I'm pretty sure you were, or
God, man,
we
that was
talked right
messed up.
before or right after or something, and we touched.
Yeah,
Jarrod and I call each other all the time. He'll be like today, this morning. Jarrod's out there.
yeah,
We're playing phone tag, trying to get a hold of each other because I wanted to put something together, and he did the stream last night, and I was like, the past few weeks I've been talking to Jarrod about maybe doing something
yeah,
impromptu and seeing if people would be interested in. Yeah. So like this is why I wanted this to happen is because there's a lot of stories you can't share on your channel because you have a thing. You review stuff, you pick
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
apart, you show people what
Yeah, it's
they should be.
mostly music. Yours is more hangouty.
Yeah. So that's and
Yeah,
it's not really too serious over
yeah,
here. So like
yeah,
if I can help spread the word, I almost have 600 subscribers, and I'm sure that this will get quite a few clicks. So we have 11 people
yeah,
watching
yeah.
right now, and but yeah, dude, tell us the story. What'd you see?
Scott, True Music by Scott David Thompson says he knows the story. Oh, he does?
Oh no.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, so I'm watching this building. It's on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm watching this apartment building, and these are two-story buildings, and there's like a deck that's, there's decks probably about 8 feet off the ground or whatever, off the balconies, and the decks have like a steel railing, just those little skinny railing poles all the way around them. So I'm watching this building and I'm watching like the sliding door, and it's all low pressure. It's just a very low pressure wash. So I'm rinsing all the soap off. And the blinds, I see the blinds kind of moving back and forth. And I see like pink. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm trying to rinse this and not look. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but it's pink and I probably shouldn't be looking. It's who knows. I mean, maybe I figured it was a woman, just kind of seeing what the noise was all about. And I didn't want to be rude, and be like, ooh,
Stare up there.
So I'm watching, and then I looked again to make sure I got the soap off, and the blinds were kind of stayed open a little bit, and it was pink, and there was two little eyeballs, on the clothing. And I'm like, this is weird, so I just kind of averted my eyes and kept going because it was weird. It weirded me out. So and this is a big long building, it's like 300 feet long, so I'm working my way down, and I had to come back and watch the lower level, and I'm coming back to watch the lower level, and the sliding glass door of the pink stuff was opens up, and this dude walks out, and it was a dude. He was completely naked. Oh my God.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, oh my God, like really, dude? Like, are you this is this is not right. you know, it was like one of those things where you're like, oh, you should have, but you're so shocked when you're in the moment, you don't know what to do. So you're like, I, what? Like, it's like, do you know I'm here? Do you know that you're in an apartment
Oh,
complex?
he knew.
There's buildings backed up to you guys, and there's probably kids and people, it's like, really, guy? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just kind of washed, and the guy was out there just smoking a cigarette with nothing on except for a pair of
Buffalo
sunglasses.
Bill.
Yeah, exactly. Puts the lotion on its skin.
Dude, last year, did I tell you? So and I'll play anywhere, anytime. I love playing, I love performing. We got an offer to perform at a nude camp.
Oh my God.
That's what it was. We got there
Dude.
first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock. People are riding around on their bikes naked and stuff. But that's in like your situation is just normal public, where
Yeah,
you
it was expected,
probably get arrested for that, right?
I did call the office immediusly.
Yeah, that's like indecency.
Yeah, I called the office, and of course it's Sunday, so no one's there. And I left a message. This is, blah blah blah. Told them who I was, my company name. I said, I need you to call me immediately, and it's very important. And so, the following day was Monday. I came in and stopped at the office, and they were like, yeah, we got a message, sounded kind of urgent. So, like, what was the deal? And so I told them, and the lady was like, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like, no. And she's like, we're gonna send somebody over there right now, talk to this guy. And I'm like scarred for life.
Well, it's not only that, but like it's an apartment complex, and there's probably children around.
Oh yeah, there was because they're apartments, so you got like sliding glass doors on the first floor too, and there's little kids' toys and stuff out. And I'm like, well,
Right.
obviously a family lives here. And this weirdo's walking around like that. I'm like, oh my god, I'm surprised somebody hasn't, called earlier, because I mean, there's no way I'm the first victim. I mean, and they kind of knew who he was. They were like, oh, that guy, and I'm just like, okay, so if you have somebody that's known as that guy living on your complex, maybe
That
you should evict them.
evict that guy.
Yeah,
No, I know,
exactly.
dude. The guy
Oh,
was trying to get you to come up and hose him down. That's what it was.
yeah, exactly. Oh, Aaron Short says, you told me the night you helped me with the helixes. Oh, Scott, yeah, okay. Yeah, Scott, he's like, I told him and Tony the night I helped him with the helixes. Yep. So he does remember that. Yeah, that's a, that's a humdinger there. That's what that is.
Aaron
How's it
says,
going, Scott?
"Dude, what's up, Aaron?"
What's up, Aaron?
He says, "Hey, I bought those Michael Britt presets. Don't like them. I'm done." Aaron, expand on that, dude. What don't you like about him? What are you
Yeah,
listening?
tell us.
Yeah, what are you using to listen? He has an FRFR, right?
Um, I think he's probably using studio
I
monitors.
know he
I
has
don't think
good
he's got
headphones too.
RFR. He got no furfur.
No furfur. Dude, you want to go into
Yeah.
that?
Good to see you here, Scott. I haven't seen you in a while, man. How's the recordings going with you guys? You want me to go into what now? The presets?
Yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Let's see.
Yeah, just hit us with like a recap about what your stream was about last night.
Did you tell the office what unit you saw the unit in? Yeah. Yeah, I did. I told him what unit number it was.
Do you want to see
Yeah, I
my
wonder if he's
unit?
still there. Um, so let's see here. Jarrod, keep up the great work, man. Miss you. True music. Yeah, yeah, I will. Thank you. I miss you too, man. We'll hang out sometime soon. We need to go back to that really cool restaurant, bar slash kind of restauranty thing near me and get some more drinks when they open back up. It's probably going to be a while, but Hilltop Brewery, we had a good time that night. Me, him, and Tony hung out for a while, and that was fun. We definitely need to hang out. Oh, you said the recording's going slow. That sucks, man. I hate it when things go slow, you know. Um, Jarrod went off on those rip-off artists. All right, so yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about those presets. Now how honest do you want me to be, dude? Because this is your channel. So I'm just gonna try to keep it whatever is within your boundaries here.
Thanks, man. Yeah, probably no names.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no names, which is probably a given. You know, people can find out. They can take this. What I want is them to take this information and do with
Yeah.
it what they choose to do, because they're their own consumer. They're all
Mhm.
adults. I don't see a lot of 12-year-olds playing a Helix or Kemper or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but
Yeah.
this is mainly directed at adults that should know better. Can vet this for themselves, but some stuff also needs to be said here. And for this kind of community, if you're involved with the Helix community, or I'm in the Kemper groups as well, just because I like following the new technology, as well as Axe Effects. I'm in that group too, even though I don't have an Axe Effects.
Oh man,
I,
it's got to be a fun group to be in.
yeah,
God, the
it's not
fanboy in the
it's
moment
it's
there.
not too bad. Well,
No,
the thing to understand,
but
I want to throw this out there. Every group, because I'm involved in all of them, every single group has that. You know, do I want to say, like, I don't want to put a blanket over every member in there,
well,
but
there's like a wolf pack mentality. It's
elitist
group
kind
thing.
of thing. Like, they have to guard their, justify their purchase to everybody, and if you don't
Yeah,
use exactly what they use, then it's kind of like a, screw you kind of thing, and it
yeah,
violates rules, in my opinion. Um, and I moderate on the Helix family group. I love the group. I've been in it for a long time. And I love helping people. Like, I'm an amp user. I use my Helix rack with my amps every show. My HX Stomp, which is in this backpack next to me, goes to me on fly dates. Like, I love the Helix. There's no doubt about it. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's for sure. And sometimes there's a more effective and efficient, cost effective way to achieve what you're trying to do without telling somebody just buy a Helix every time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm sharing this in a group right now. Boom, there it is. Um, yeah, so uh, yeah, the problem with groups is okay. The good part about groups is you do get to learn from people who are actually willing to teach and to help you troubleshoot things if needed. So that is a good thing about being in a group. Nothing wrong with that. But the problem is the bad things about being in a group is you get this kind of like group think mentality, and you get like the cool kids table who kind of dictate everything, and everybody tries to suck up to them and stick up for them if anybody disagrees with them. There's all this like you know posturing that happens, and good ideas get stifled if they're not something that passes the sniff test of the kids at the cool kid table. And I don't know how some of these people get in that position of authority or rank or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of them just need the table tipped over on them and they need to get booted out of the cafeteria, because these people, they kind of run the place without even having a title, and the moderators and the people that start the groups are afraid of them for God knows what reason. And then you get, some of the rebels like me who actually stand up to them and call them out on their crap. And it's not something I do every day. It's not like I'm walking around looking for a fight all the time, but when they're wrong, and I don't always make it a point to correct people either when they're wrong. I'm not that guy either, but I do pick the hill I want to die on occasionally, and I don't want to die on it though. So it's like, well, I picked the hill, but you're going to die on it. That's my attitude. So I almost picked the hill you're going to die on.
yeah,
you
and,
know.
and and I only go like I used to really get into it with people on some of these boards and like just debate. It's healthy debate. As long as there's no name throwing or anything like that. What does it do to hurt the conversation, the spirit of that conversation? If anything, it's a way to collaborate and maybe bring a better idea to the table. Okay, so you don't like my idea, then what would you suggest? And then from there, you can build each
Well,
other up. And
yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. While we're setting the stream up earlier, there were times we couldn't hear each other. We're trying to like work our way around the issue. And there was a time where I could barely hear you, but it wasn't good enough. Now, with these kinds of people, it's almost like if I couldn't, like, if I had one of those types of people on the stream with me, I couldn't say, dude, I can't hear you, because they wouldn't want, oh, that's your fault, they wouldn't want to work on it on their end. It's like, well, that's your freaking fault. And it could have been something on your end, but they're so high and mighty they don't want to be told that. And you know what I'm saying? And then nothing ever gets done because these people are above reproach, they're above correction. And you've seen there's a couple of individuals in that Helix group that if anybody has anything even remotely constructively criticizing of these people, or not really the people, but maybe something that they did, like on the Helix or a patch they made or an episode they did. I mean, the dogpiling that happens on that poor person is just like, go get him, Hey,
yeah,
so and so, you see me punching this guy in your honor, and it just turns into this thing. And then so and so feels all entitled and empowered by seeing all this. And it's like, dude, you're so shallow and so like vapid that you're going to allow this crap to happen and not step in and be the bigger person and go, you know what? That guy was right. He had a point.
yeah,
I could have done this differently or whatever. But he's an untouchable, entitled prick that just thinks that everybody should kiss his rear end, and it shouldn't work that way.
yeah, yeah. I
And
don't
I'm the
understand
kind of
how
guy
some.
that'll see that and go, well, all right, I'm gonna pick the hill you're gonna die on today.
Yeah, I don't understand how some of those people are, and I'm not gonna like direct which group I'm talking about, but how some of these people that are either artists or whatever, or they're still allowed to do certain things, but they're not involved in other things anymore. And you know who I'm talking about, but
Oh yeah,
how they're still
Oh, Canada.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, how are you still like
Yeah.
relevant? Why didn't they just cut losses with you? You know?
Well, and the thing is too, I'm going to read some comments in a minute here. Well, so guys, feel free to repeat your comments if we missed them. Sorry, but I'm on it. We're on a tear here, so I will engage the comments in a minute. Uh, so
You
where
said
was I?
fear.
Oh, what's that?
You said fear.
Yeah. So here's the thing. What gets me is like you have a company that has people that are carrying their banner around. Some of them work for them directly, some of them work for them indirectly. And this company is supporting their live streams, it's supporting their channels, it's sharing their episodes in the group as they're like, I'm an official person in this company. I'm sharing this guy's live stream because it's kind of like those TV shows that say, the views and whatever of this TV show do not necessarily, align with the channel that we're on or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, though, is with this company, it sucks that we can't say names because I got to keep worming my way around all this crap. But you know, this company's sharing this stuff, which means they're putting their stamp of approval on them and their stamp of approval on their behavior as well. And what sucks is that person's or those people's behavior is really off-putting to a lot of people, which means that it's making that company look bad. And um, people buy from who they like, and they will if there's like a sour taste in their mouth because of somebody that's affiliated with that brand, they're gonna walk away from that brand. And I think it's very important for companies to align themselves with people who treat people well and don't make crappy presets on that company's flagship product and sell them under the guise of these sound really good because I'm playing them in a mix and they're not really in a proper mix. They're in a they're in a mix with guitars in the background and all this kind of nonsense. And it's just people are buying all their snake oil, and it just doesn't look good for the company either.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really unfortunate that that happens. And maybe one of these days that company will wake up and realize that, gosh, man,
Dude,
this.
and here's the thing is the people that work there, like I've been in direct contact with that specific company 2 years the past two winter NAMs. And
Mhm.
dude, I can't tell you how kind those employees are. They're just
Oh, I'm sure they're great guys.
dude, they absolutely are, and it
Yeah.
sucks that they have, and there's another company too, uh, that reached out to me on a weekend one time, and was talking about this one person that's making demos for this other company that we're talking about, and has
Yeah.
because they know that I used to have some affiliation there, and
Yeah.
that's a strange phone call to get. It does mean a lot to me. I keep things private. I don't share anything because I don't want to ruin what I have going on. That's at the forefront of my thought process every time I have a kind of one of these sketchy conversations. And
Yeah. Yeah.
how am I going to get burned from this? And that's the first thing that goes through my mind. And if I trust that person
Yeah.
that's working for that company, then yeah, I'll share some stuff, but I'll also keep it. I like to keep it kind of diplomatic too. Like, well, he might be going through a season, or I know that he shared this recently. He's probably just in a bad
Yeah.
spot. That's very possible too. But they're in a few situations that we're talking about specifically, they're just trying to capitalize, make money, and if you're not satisfied, then screw off. It's not our problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it just it really doesn't do much for their branding. It's kind of like you got a mascot, that's out there running around making you look bad, and it's like It's just, and the more you support that said mascot, I mean, the worse you look, because it's like, all right, well, you're putting your stamp of approval on this guy, and you're sharing his stuff, and he actually has his presets and his, products in your official store. And it's like, dude, man, like, it's kind of like if Hitler was still alive and Kroger allowed him to sell his wares at in their store. It's like, really, would you shop at Kroger
His
anymore
Panzer.
if you had the Hitler aisle? Hitler cyanide pills, shop here. They're all half off today. It's like, why would you shop at Kroger if there's something there that's like just horrible like that, made by a horrible person. And it's the same thing. Like, you got stuff in this company's store from people that are you know just taking a giant dump on the industry, and they're putting their stamp of approval on it, and
Well,
it's really sad,
well,
and
there's a few people that have had bad experiences with some of those content creators, and they actually backed out of the product that that creator is pushing. As a result, the bad taste of their in their mouth and stuff, and I won't say who it is,
yeah,
but he's commenting in the chat right now. I remember those conversations, and just one bad customer. They might have been a long time customer, and then at some point, if an artist rubs you the wrong way, then I hope the
you're
company,
done.
I hope the company sees that and chooses not to
Yeah,
work with that person anymore. Because,
why would you?
I mean, how often is Mark Tremonti on the message boards and talking about gear? It's a fine line. I'll tell you what, and especially with the Kramer stuff, because Kramers are like the current lineup is widely available. There was somebody on my friends list that commented on one of Kramer's photos the other day and said, "Yeah, it'd be nice, but none of these are available." Well, if you go to the Google machine and you just do a search for the guitar you want out of that lineup, you can just click on shopping and it'll pull up all the stores that currently have or are listing that guitar. When you get to that
Yeah,
page, it might be out of stock or on back order or whatever. But I found two stores, Zounds and it was Sam Ash, that had all three models that he was like, "Yeah, it'd be nice, but they're not available right now because Kramer can't get guitars out." No, there's one model that they can't get out as quickly as people
yeah,
want them to, and it's the Night Swan. And it's because we're trying to make sure every single one that comes off the line is good. That's the only reason why. And I'm not sure how the virus is going to have an effect on supply chain, but as somebody that works in supply chain, you know, as a daily operation, Monday through Friday, I know it's probably going to slow down again, and people are going to blame it on freaking Gibson, and it's not
yeah,
Gibson's fault. It's the world is closing down. But
yeah.
that's just
Stuff
one
happens.
example of these people that just like they talk out of their ass and don't know how to use Google. It really upsets me, and
Well, you know what they say about assuming. I mean,
that's why I bend
that's
over
the thing.
backwards. I bend over backwards to do the legwork for those people with a smile on my face, because I'm so customer facing with these products. You know,
Yeah,
the last thing I want is for somebody to go at my throat, and it's happened before on some of these Kramer forums. Like, they'll go right at my throat about just paragraphs on paragraphs of, how things are my fault and I need to tell this person. And, I do have contacts and there's people I can reach out to try to alleviate a situation, or, you know, they expect me to become customer service. No, get
yeah,
with your retailer that you purchased the guitar from, call the phone number of,
yeah,
look up Gibson online, look up Kramer online, call that phone number, talk to somebody from there. There's
yeah.
warranties on these products for a reason. And if you received a product that is not up to your expectation, fit or finish, then there's recourse for that. And it's not me, because I don't have a way to actually receipt that inventory back in and ship you a new one. I'm just a guy that
Yeah,
likes playing the guitars and teaching
let me eat
people
some
about the
wood,
brand.
whip out a new guitar for you. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. But the thing is like, getting back to the groups and the group think and all that stuff is like, it's funny with the groups is that they make these groups to be helpful. They make them so that it's like, oh, let's get a group together. We can all help each other and have this symbiotic thing about this product. And oh, I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, this is how you do that. And And by the way, I like how you did this. How did you do that? Oh, I did it this way. And
Right.
then everybody, it's like the rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. But really what happens is you get that and it's always the intention, but then you got these guys that come in there that are like pariahs and they come in and they're opportunists and literally they come in with a straw and suck the tide out and everybody's just sitting in a boat on dry land and they're wondering why they're not getting anywhere. It's because these certain guys came in here and tried to turn this into something that was just for them. It's like, oh, look, a target rich environment. Let me go in here and try to make some money. Let me try to, um, you know, uh, capitalize on this. And I'm okay with capitalizing on things as long as you're doing it with a give and take equally. Okay. But if you're just going to come in there and be a taker, and just suck the water out of the place so all the boats are just laying on dry land and not getting anywhere, that's not good. It's not good for anybody. And anybody that brings up the fact that like, why is so and so over there with a straw sucking water out of this thing? Oh no, don't talk to you can't talk to him. Leave him alone. He's one of the cool kids, and he's over there laughing his ass off while he's sucking the tank dry, and all our boats are going down, and we're like, this doesn't feel right. This group was started so that we can learn stuff, and the only thing I've learned so far is that guy's a jerk, that guy's a douchebag, that guy's in it for himself, and this guy's making presets that sound like crap and selling them for top dollar in the store of the product that of the companies making the product that we're all here for in the first place, and they're saying that's all okay, and they're sharing his stuff, and they're approving everything, and it's just
Hmm.
turning into this vicious cycle of, what, said company that's making this product that we're all in here for, this crap's going to come around and bite you in the ass eventually. And if this is the circle, I think it's kind of taking a turn about right here right now, and it's on its way up, and it's hungry and it's sharpening its teeth right now and it's coming after and it's not a good place to be. It really is not a good place to be in because it's just a matter of time before this stuff comes around to bite you in the ass. And I've tried to put a stop to it, and obviously I'm not in that group anymore, and I'm not in the group anymore by choice, and I just refuse. And so I've had a lot of people come up to me, email me, message me through Facebook, message me on my channel, and say, "Hey, have you tried this preset or that preset or this and that?" People ask me all the time, like, "What, have you tried this gear, that gear?" And then we got on the topic of presets one day, and I was like, it's been a while since I've tried presets because I run my Helix 4 cable method, with my amps like my Crack and my MT15 and my all my Synergy stuff
Right.
upstairs. So I haven't paid any attention to presets because I don't need to. Why would you? If you, I mean, seriously, if you go watch my channel last night and you heard the Victory Crack, and it's like, why would you use a preset when you got this thing? So so I just took it upon myself to go, well, I haven't done a preset review in a long time. And I don't have any amps to review right now because Motor City Guitar is kind of shut down because of the whole, what thing. So,
You could probably,
with,
hey, by the way, you could probably still, they're shipping still from that store. So you could probably be like,
yes,
yo, Marty, can you just
yeah,
like
they're
leave this
shipping,
outside?
but you just can't go in. Yeah. Yeah. They're shipping all across the country. You just can't go in. So, anyways, so I looked into these presets and I'll be honest with you, like I was so sickened. I bought them. And thanks to Ben Burnett, who's in here tonight. Again, hi Ben. We'll get to your comments in a few minutes here, but um, I bought them and tried them out, and I was so disgusted and so sickened by what I heard and what I felt. And then I watched their demo videos on them and everything, and I'm just like, these do not line up with anything that I'm hearing, seeing, whatever. And they sound so bad, and I just can't believe it's like somebody selling cheeseburgers, and they're like, wow, look at our cheeseburgers; these are great. And like you go to the to their place and get one, and they run it over with a car first, and then they serve it to you. Like, here's your cheeseburger.
Dude,
This
and
doesn't, you
here's the
know,
thing. That's why Yelp exists. But
yeah,
why why with the guitar community are we not allowed to negatively review something or go to the
Mhm.
company and if we have connections, right? Or send an email.
Yeah,
You can always email a company like, "Hey, this kind of
yeah,
sucks. Like, is there anything
yeah.
you can do
You
to
can't
kind of
do
fix
that with
this?
these.
I made this kind of investment." I mean, like, if you were to, and I made this analogy to you, I think on the phone the other day or over Messenger or something, but we were talking about presets,
Yeah,
and one of the people commenting right now got the presets, they sucked, went back to the guy, and he said, "Oh, it's your fault. You know,
yeah.
they're fine." It's like if you went to a restaurant, a Lucky's Steakhouse or like a Black Rock or like maybe even a high scale one, that you're spending 50 $60 on, this
Yeah.
couple ounce cut of steak, a fillet or something. And if you come
Mhm.
out and it's not satisfactory, like that's not how you asked for it to be cooked, you're
Yeah,
typically allowed to send that back into the kitchen and they'll throw it back on the stove or whatever they got to do or make you a fresh one.
yeah,
That's great customer service. But when you're
yeah.
selling presets and then turning those customers away and making it their fault, well, it's got to be what you're listening to it on.
Yeah. It's your guitar, it's your pickups, it's your this, it's your that. Well, I'm sorry, my $3,300 guitar can't make your preset sound good. Should I buy a $400 guitar? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe my guitar is so good that it makes your presets sound like ass. I don't know.
Dude, there's so
It's just
many
funny, you know?
variables here when creating presets and stuff. It's like, I've watched the process. I know how people do it on how they typically will create a preset and
Yeah,
the ones that go to
simple.
market. Yeah, it's not crazy hard. There's a
Yeah,
market for it because there's people that maybe they're not having a lot of success with their product and they're looking to somebody that has sold a lot of presets because it's
yeah,
probably like that's why I need to put my faith in. Um, you need to remember that with modelers and the modeling community, and some dude the other day didn't believe me, but there are some guys that went straight to the pod, the red bean, the Line 6 bean. They never
mhm.
used real amps, dude, and
Yeah,
it's
you're
it's
right,
a thing. They
you're
they
right.
never they never really got to experience what the real thing was. So how can you sit there and create a preset when you don't know what reality is? You know what you're
Yeah,
hearing in songs and you can kind of get a general basis on that. But if you listen to Eddie Van Halen's solo guitar tones, like if you solo his track out and I
yeah,
don't know, dance the night away, his guitar
yeah.
sounds thin and shitty. In the full context of the mix, it sounds great. Like there need to be live presets that you would just go front of house, and there need to be
Player pack.
mix ready presets.
Yeah, there needs to be players packs, and and the thing is I agree. I think a lot of people forget, like, uh, people have to play these and like them. These are involved. These hands are involved in presets, and you can't buy a preset that you hear on YouTube, because these aren't involved. Because as soon as your hands get involved when you're playing a preset or a Kemper profile or even an amp or anything, they're going to have a conversation with your ears while you're playing. They're conversing to each other, and your ears are like, "I like this," but if your hands don't like it, your hands are going to like, "I don't like this." And guess who wins? Your hands will win that argument every single time. Because if your hands don't like it and your ears do, eventually your ears are going to agree with your hands and go, "Yeah, I don't really like this either anymore." Your hands have the biggest influence over it. It has to feel right. Now, are there things that you can do to augment how it feels so that your hands will be happy? Yes, that's the conversation that the ears will have with the hands too, where it's like, "I really do like this. It sounds amazing. Is there something we could do to make you happy so both of us can enjoy this preset or profile or whatever?" And I don't know, turn the gain up, turn it down, add an overdrive if there's not one in there, blah, 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 do this, do that. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel good, you chuck it. It's not right. And that's what happened to me last night when I was doing all the preset reviews. Is they felt like crap. They sounded like crap. So
Yeah.
with these presets, it wasn't even a matter of, well, my ears liked it, but my hands didn't, or vice versa. my hands and my ears both turned into bouncers and just said, "Kick this crap out of here. This is freaking
Not
garbage."
today. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, here's and to play off what you just said, it's like going back to the steak thing. It's like, yeah, you want things, Jarrod, you were mentioning 80% and then the other 20% you can tweak in
Yeah,
yourself. There's always going to be that little bit of variable where you have your
yeah,
preference, whether you need to turn up the gain or the mids
yeah,
down a little bit, depending on what you're listening to this preset through. Headphones, FRFR, is it studio monitors? Is it, a passive wedge? Is it an active wedge? Are you running it through a power
yeah,
section into a cab? Do you have to turn out there's going to be some variables here that, yeah, without a question, buying a preset pack, you might need to make some changes to find something that you're in love with or can, that's usable in the context of a
yeah,
mix or live setting and that you can jam with and be happy with. It's not going to be a
yeah,
turnkey solution, but in my perspective, if you're paying all that money, some of these people pay $30 for a preset pack. If I spent $50 on a steak and he brought it out, he's like, well, it is what it is. I mean, you could take it home and then put it on your grill.
yeah. Or if you complain and the whole kitchen staff comes out and flames you for complaining about it and says it's your fault that you don't like it. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, I asked for medium well and the thing's still mooing. It's practically walking away right now. I mean,
well,
can
come back.
somebody please shoot this thing and refire it for me? Because give me a break, you know? And that's what happens in certain groups. You know, you get in these groups and you say with all of the respect in the world, and I've seen it happen in that group that I'm not in anymore. Thank God I'm not in that group anymore. What a hellhole. And you say anything like, like, yeah, I bought these presets, and is anybody else having trouble with them? And everyone's like, no, it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. And oh, he's amazing. He's the Messiah. And everybody just sticks up for him. And it's just like, oh my God, you watching this? And you're like, this poor guy just got his ass handed to him by like 50 people in the matter of like 5 minutes. And the guy's just like, well, I guess I won't be posting here anymore. Geez, no one added any help. No one had any help for him. They just wanted to stick up for their little Messiah in the group. And the guy, the Messiah, never came in and addressed anything. Never came in and said, "Hey, let me help you.
Yeah.
Maybe this, maybe that." It was just, "I'll just let my little underlings, my lemmings, take care of this guy for me."
Luckily,
And hand,
luckily,
like,
luckily, that doesn't happen too often, but I've certainly seen it. Might not have been for like even like the last 6 months, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. And you
yeah,
know,
it sucks. It's a
in a
joke.
group like that, if you're not going to help out, if you don't have some sort of suggestion to bring to the table, don't comment.
Yeah,
Just
just don't.
keep
Yeah,
your
scroll by.
scroll by, keep your mouth shut. If you're not adding
Yeah,
value, because you're in that group, they've probably received some help, some value from that. Pay it forward, dude. How hard is it?
yeah. How hard is it to pay something
And be a
forward?
good
Exactly.
be a good freaking person. Like that's, I mean, in the end of the day, that's what those groups are for. They're family groups. They're ran
Yeah.
by two people that wear their hearts on their sleeves, and I love those guys. And it just sucks to see that. And you can't control everybody that's a member in those groups, but
Oh, you can't,
we
but
we we try to guide people and say, hey, like, if you don't have anything to add to a conversation or assist in any way, scroll by. It's not necessary. It's not needed. You're just trying to stir the pot. Go talk about politics on your own page.
well, not only that, but it's kind of like somebody on the side of the road with a flat tire, and everybody just slows down so they can roll their eyes at them and just drive away. And like, oh, you shouldn't have hit that nail, And it's just like, how about you just get out and help the guy with his tire? How about you, like get out of your car and go, hey, is everybody okay? Oh, looks like you got a flat tire. Have you ever changed a tire before? No. Okay, well, let me help you with that real quick. Let me help you do that. And I know that's like I'm a human being. Number one, you should be able to change a freaking tire, but not everybody knows how to do that. So maybe every once in a while we should put our pride aside and help somebody out. And then guess what they can do next time? They can fix their own tire and they can help somebody next time. And it just makes the world a better place. But instead, people like in these groups, they'd rather just drive by slow enough so you can see them rolling their eyes at you as they drive by. And it's just sad. And that's really the way I look at it when people post snarky comments in those groups. oh, it's all your fault or this or that. It's like that's somebody rolling their eyes at me while I'm standing on the side of the road, broke down, trying to figure out how I'm going to get home tonight.
It, it's
It's
the
that
same.
stupid.
It's the
You know,
same concept. You're looking at people that have smaller YouTube channels, and small YouTube channels. This freaking channel has just under 600, super small. And thanks to everybody that's watching. By the way, this is totally off the cuff, and I just wanted to
yeah,
show you a different side of Jarrod. We wanted to have this kind of open forum discussion, and please share your questions in the comments. But to go back to it, we have these smaller channels that have maybe 14 or 15,000 subscribers currently as of March 2020, and
yeah,
you know every time they get those snark, like maybe a naysayer kind of comment on their channel, or they see somebody disagreeing with them, they have to they feel vested and empowered to create this video that shames those people.
exactly.
Like, what's that about,
Yeah,
dude? Like, do you think you're
yeah.
you're that great, and like you think it's funny? Like, it's honestly, it makes me lose respect for you.
Well, and the thing is that this is the way I look at it. Your best teacher as a fighter is not your coach, it's your opponent that you just lost to. That guy taught you the best lesson you'll ever freaking learn, how not to lose next time. You watch the tape back and you're like, oh my God, that guy's got an amazing right cross. I'm going to have to watch out for that next time. And I found his weak point. His weak point is body shots. I'm going to work on those for the rematch. And that guy taught you all that stuff by kicking your ass. Your coach didn't teach you that. Your coach got you to the fight, but that guy taught you how to beat him. And a lot of times, people that disagree with you and don't like your presets or don't like your temper profiles or don't like your guitar solo that you played on a song, sometimes it's coming from a place of jealousy or whatever, but there are times that it's not. There are times where it's just somebody's actual like opinion and it's based on something real. And they're just like, hey, man, I bought your presets, and this is kind of what I think of them. There's too much high end, or they're just flubby, or whatever the comment is. You can't just dismiss the guy and say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Everybody go attack them because you know what? There's probably some truth in there. And so the first thing I always try to do when I get comments like that um, is take it in and go, "All right, I want to see if this person's right. I'm going to objectively look at this again with his opinion ringing in my ears, and I'm going to play this, or I'm going to listen to this, or check it out, whatever it is,
Right.
and then I'm going to kind of go, all right, is he right? And you know what? If he's right, he kicked your ass, but he also taught you how to beat him. He taught you how to get better and make it better, so that next time he's satisfied with it. You know what? And it's like kick my ass because every time I get my ass kicked, I get better. That's what I want.
Dude,
I
let's
mean,
let's throw out a really good example of that, and I use this as an example for people all the time that just use modeling products, maybe have never used amps before. And I posted about it the other day, actually, in that group. And I said, you know, I love this. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but these are the amps I use with this product, Helix. And, I just kind of outlined the reason that I love playing through real amps. Dude, when we started hanging out, when did we start hanging out? It was after Machine Shop at your rain show. It was shortly after
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you
It was
you were,
shortly after that.
you were still using, I think, the Pod HD 500X,
HD 500X or something
and
like
then
that.
you got the Helix Floor. You got it before me, and then I ended
Yeah,
up getting one, and then we just started hanging out over that.
yeah,
But like right away, I started using my no, I got the Helix rack. I started using the Helix rack with my Legacy 3 right away, and you
yeah.
were still just using it for direct, and you recorded a lot of the Anastasi stuff with the Helix, and did you go back and reamp all that stuff?
I recorded.
Because you're using the Helix direct.
Yeah, I used it direct on uh, a couple of the songs, and then what ended up happening is switched to Synergy, and then we recorded a new song called "While I Bleed," and I actually recorded that with the Synergy modules, and the tone was just night and day better. It was way better.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then once so the thing that got me back into amps was when I went to Sweetwater Gear Fest last year, and I came home with
Dude,
the Synergy.
I told you to get the Kemper. Like, here's the timeline that I remember. This, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you had the Helix. It was James Myers and I trying to dial out that high end crinkle,
Yeah, the
and
Fizz.
we were telling you about it, and you're like, "Oh my god, I hear it now." And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
and then you went on a wild goose hunt to try to find the perfect
oh yeah,
IR.
and that's when I bought the crappy presets. That's when I discovered all the garbage presets out there that did not help me. They actually made it worse. So, and then the following year, I went to Sweetwater Gear Fest for the first
And
time. I came back with a
I
Kemper.
told you to buy the Kemper.
Yeah, so I got that, and that thing completely
Yeah.
blows away the Helix as far as a direct product goes. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I've done the shootouts. I've done my own. I've had them on my channel. It's not even a contest. It lays waste to any other digital product out there.
Amp tone and feel, yes. However, from a switching
So
perspective,
Well,
Helix.
yeah, but it's not made for working with other amps. It's made to
Yeah.
replace them. The Helix is made to work with your gear. The Kemper is made to replace it. I mean, that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
So anyways, fast forward the following year, where
We went to
uh,
Motor City and you got the Sin 1 that day.
yes, yeah, I got the Synergy stuff, and I enjoyed the living daylights out of that. I ended up getting the Sin 2. I bought another Sin 2 and had 4 modules, and I still ran them direct through my Helix into my FRFR cabs. And then I went to Gear Fest at Sweetwater, and I came back with 2 Mesa cabs and the Sin 5050 real tube 6L6 power amp, and then hooked all my stuff up to that. And then I haven't played my Friedmans since, unless it was for an episode or something like that. I've been playing through real power amps and cabs ever since. And once you hear the difference and feel the difference, you're never going to go back. I mean, it's
Yeah.
night and day. And then I even ran my Kemper into my Sin 5050 into my real cabs, and I just turn off the cab sim on my Kemper, and it sounds incredible. I mean, I much prefer that, and I'll never go back. And then I ran my Synergy stuff the same way, obviously. Then I started doing amp reviews on my shows, I don't know, 4 months ago or whatever. And I started, I got the MT15 here. I did that review, and then like 3 days later, I went in the store and bought it because I was like, this thing's haunting my dreams right now.
Dude,
I have to have
I saw a
it
used
now.
one for like $430 the other
You
day.
should have bought it.
Well, it's on kind of like an obscure used website that it's not like
Uh,
Reverb or eBay or anything like that.
you should have bought it. That is such a
It's probably still
incredible amp.
for sale.
Yeah, they're great amps, especially for the money. And then a friend of mine was kind enough. I did a review of this, and then the next day he messaged me, and I'm eternally grateful. He actually said keep the amp for the Kraken, which is like incredible. I mean, I'm still like blown away. Like I can't believe somebody gave me this. It's the 18th one built.
It's
The
insane.
serial number. You can
That's
see it.
something. Yeah, never
So
let go of that one. That's for sure.
no, I'll never let this amp go. I mean, it's just an incredible, incredible amplifier. And so, yeah, I came back full circle to amps. And the thing is like I said on my show last night, anybody that's like, oh yeah, these presets sound just like amps and stuff. And it's just like, dude, go play an amp. Go play an amp for 3 weeks. I don't care if you have to borrow one. Play it for 3 weeks. Do not touch your digital platform. And then come back and plug into that, and your first impressions will be the true ones, and
Dude,
it'll tell you
I
everything.
mean, like going back a few years when you started to do the shootouts, like the actual tone wars, like head to
Yeah.
head with amp users and stuff. And I remember we
Mhm.
were at the Maidstone, and you just had your Helix in front of you, and there's this guy
Yeah,
with three. He had like a Marshall Mode
I killed
4.
that guy.
He had a Fender something Mustang, and then he had something else like a
Yeah,
crate or something. And
horrible Marshall
dude,
amps,
he had
and
this guitar that had like it was EMG loaded, all like it was a
yeah,
decent guitar, but it was weird because the way he had his pedal board and his 3 amps and 412 cabs set up,
yeah, Wet, dry,
he's
wet.
like, dude, play through it. And you asked me to bring my guitar that day, so like
Yeah,
people after the
yeah,
show, you can play through the rigs and check them
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And I plugged in and I was like, dude, is like, did you like break something? Like, is your cord broken? Because like it was so
It was
dead.
so bad.
It was so dead and lifeless. It was like using
Yeah.
an EMG active guitar that had no 9-volt battery in it.
Yeah, it was so bad, and his rig was awful. I mean, I remember being on stage, and I'm sitting like right here, and he's like 10 feet away from me with his amps and cabs facing me. And so we each opened the show with our riffs. So I did my little thing and whatever, and then I stopped, and then it was his turn. And Carrie's on stage with me, like standing between us, and she's like, "All right," I forget the guy's name, and she's like, "Your turn." And he starts playing, and I was just, dude, my ears bled from that. It was so harsh and so nasty. So, yeah, I mean, on that particular night, the Helix completely annihilated this guy and all three of his amps because they were just dialed in wrong. They sounded like, it literally sounded like somebody just took a nail and just pounded it into my freaking eardrum.
That was
I
a
mean, it was
situation
bad.
where like I went into that knowing that I would never ever play any of those amps.
Yeah, they were all trash. I
Yeah,
mean, they were all the
it's
worst version of any of those brands at all. It was like they're bastard child amps.
yeah, it's like they were all kind of like the like I said, the Fender Mustang and the Marshall Mode
Yeah,
4. And anybody that knows like those lineups will know that yeah, it's like kind of like the economy line stuff. You're talking
yeah,
Marshall, you're getting a JCM 900,
yeah,
you're getting
mhm,
an 800. The kind of the staple stuff, the JVM.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, or with Fender Twin for your cleans, and the
yeah,
I don't think they ever really had a super good high gain amp. They had the HM amp, heavy metal or something, but I doubt it is that great. But I mean,
yeah,
it's funny though because looking back, you were just all into this modeler, and then you finally like it's like somebody like the clouds cleared. And then you were just like, this is what I've been missing this entire time. And that kind
yeah,
of revelation is the kind of revelation that I want every guitar player to have. And just get back to the core essentials, what feels the best, what sounds the best to you. But I understand that in the same breath, some of these people know that they're taking a bit of a, you know, what like a trade off. Is that the word I want to use? Like for portability, I guess.
Well, it's a sacrifice for sure, and what you're
Yeah.
sacrificing is tone for ease. Now, I mean, you can't paint landscapes when you live in the city. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You have to live there. You have to be around that stuff and understand what it looks like and stuff like that. It's and getting back to your thing about somebody that started out with never played an amp and he started out on the Bean or something like that, and he just went from that to other digital products. And it's kind of like a guy that's making paintings, but of a tree, but he's never seen a tree ever. He's never in his life has ever seen a tree, but and he's painting this, and it's like he's calling it a tree, and he's selling it on the street corner, and people are walking by and go, "What is that?" Well, it's a tree, silly. I'm selling it for $100. Like, that's not a tree. Yes, it is. It's a tree because I said it's a tree because I painted it, and it's a tree. And it's like, dude, have you ever seen a tree? No. How can you say it's? I've seen a tree. I've climbed one. In fact, I grew up around trees, and that's not a freaking tree, buddy.
Johnny
And then you
Appleseed
show
is
them a
my
tree.
uncle.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you show them a tree and they're like, "Oh my god, I've been doing this all along wrong." And it's like, "Well, welcome to the real." And you know what? And even people that have seen trees their whole life, but they've stepped away from them for a while, they kind of do forget things about them. They forget details.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like if you don't play an amp for a long time and you go from brand X to brand X to brand X digital products, and you're comparing them to each other. Well, compared to brand X to brand Y, this one's better. So that means this is the ultimate. No, it's not. Compare it to this. This is the thing that you compare every digital product to. Okay. That's your benchmark. If
Yep.
it doesn't sound as good as that, then it's crap, and And you really have to do that. And this is what keeps you grounded. And that's why I'll never get rid of my amps, because anytime I'm feeling high and mighty about whatever tone I'm playing in whatever digital platform, I compare it to this, and then this will tell me the truth. This is the mirror that you show every digital platform to and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the crappiest tone of them all? And the amp's going to say, you are.
Yeah.
I can hear your fizz, and you have to dial it in to sound close to this. Now, can the Helix come close enough to do it so where if you were doing a fly date or a gig where you just don't have the stage space, and you just have to bring a
And,
digital
and we're
platform?
talking about kind of the hard rock metal territory.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
clean
is it
stuff.
good enough to get
Clean
you
stuff is
through
pretty
that?
good, but the
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
rock metal territory, it's kind of iffy.
Yeah, so is it good enough to get you through the show? Absolutely. There's people that tour with the Helix, there's people that tour with Kempers and XFX units and stuff like that. And I'll tell you what, man, if you have to, you have to. There's just times where you just don't have the budget or the space or the time or the ability to bring your amps. Or, like for me, this is a fantastic, very precious amp. I'm not going to bring it to just any old gig and have it all scuffed up and beat up. I mean, it's too nice for that. So, there might be times when I bring my Kemper and go direct with it. But that's what the Kemper was made for. But here's the thing: I would profile this in the Kemper and take it, and I have done that. And my Kemper profiles of this amp are absolutely fantastic. They really are. I love them. But the thing is, though, is you got to use it as a tool to get you through shows and different scenarios that work for you, like fly dates. You've done fly dates. You've done things where you go to Punta Cana and you got to bring like your little mini fly date little pedal board with you. You probably have it right there, don't you?
Yep, it's in
You
this
know,
backpack.
yeah, so you got to bring that stuff with you, and there's times where you get there and they'll have backline, but what if the backline's crap, or what if it doesn't work, or just whatever?
Right,
At least you got your fly date stuff, and it
dude.
gets you through the show.
But it wouldn't just be the HX Stomp. So like that's why I bought that Hughes and Kettner Black Spirit 200. It's like 7 pounds, 200 watts, and it crushed over there, dude. It
Yeah,
absolutely for me. I already had my tone set up here. I literally had my pedal board with all my ideal pedals on there,
hmm,
and then my amp of choice, and it,
yeah.
it, it totally just killed me. And it's gonna keep coming with me on fly dates, and that's actually why I reached out to Hughes and Kettner, and set up a deal about it. If this if I didn't know how this amp was designed, I would think that it had EL34s in there.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot for me to say that about a digital product is huge. If you go back on my channel, you'll see I went through a full solid state journey to try to find a lightweight power amp. This is before the Sin 5050 was out, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
that's when you're using what was that one that you used that clipped all the time?
it
What
was
was
for high gain
oh,
tones, and I explained this to somebody that wrote a comment on that video today. Is for high gain tones, there was this high end crinkle on top of it. It's because it's a Class D power amp, and that's what most of them do. If it
yeah,
like looking back after I got rid of um the Power Stage 700, I got the Matrix stuff, which is Class
yeah,
AB, and that really smoothed out a lot of the you know that
yeah,
that bad frequency that I didn't like to hear. Like
yeah.
once you
Yeah.
hear that, you can't unhear it. And
I know.
some people
It's
just can't hear it to begin with, so it's never a
yeah.
problem. So they're like, "Yeah, it's lightweight, does everything I need it to do." But it's like you and I are very particular, and does that mean that it really matters to it, or should it matter to anybody else that's listening in the audience? No, not at all. Most of those people aren't even thinking about our gear, but we're the ones
Well,
that
they're
need to be
probably
happy
thinking
with
we're
it.
sniffing corks too. Like, oh, this one, there's a hint of oak in here. I do smell it. And yes, and I smell elderberries. It's really not that. It's like really, once you hear that high end fizz that's in Class D or even Class G power, and you AB it with the real cab and real power section.
Right.
That's when you're like, oh God, oh, why did I? You're mad because you're like, now you know, and you can't ever go back. It's
Yeah.
in there, and you're like, and you literally hear it like, so. when I I've been, like I said before, I've been playing through my real tube power section, which is the Sin 5050 all tube power amp 6L6, right through my Mesa 2x12 cabs. I got two of them, and I play through that with my Kemper and with my Synergy stuff, and then I started making my own Kemper profiles. Okay, so my Friedman cabs that I love, I think they're the best FRFRs out there, but they've been parked for several months. And so I started making Kemper profiles, and to test my profiles, I was playing through my studio monitors, my in ears, my real cab and power amp section bypassing the cab sim. But I also tested it on my Friedman cab. I got one sitting right here off camera that, because usually my Kemper's sitting here. We want to do profiles. And immediately I was like, oh God, there's that stuff. There's that fizz and that weird kind of thing that the furfurs do, and I'm like, and then you start having this like argument with yourself. Is it the profile or is it the cab? Then you run the circle again, run it through
Yeah.
the different various other things. And it really is. It's the class D, class G, FRFR power stuff that happens. And it just, you can't get away from it. And if you dial all that stuff out, then you're dialing it out the wrong way because you're trying to fix something in the profile that is the cab's fault.
So I have a question
You know?
for you. So you said your synergies sent to the FRFR do that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
yeah,
Okay, because like I picked up the ASM 12 like maybe
yeah, yeah.
6 months ago, and
Yep.
like using that as opposed to the what was I using before? It was the EV ZLX
Yeah.
12P,
ZLX. Yep.
which I thought was a pretty decent monitor.
Yeah.
It got me
Uh-huh.
by, but
Yep.
the ASM 12 doesn't have that high end fizz. I'm not using an IR or anything. It's coming straight to it's coming from the emulated output on the back of my amp. So I'm not
Okay.
sure like what kind of filtering is done or like how
Maybe there's
the IR or cab sim is applied, but I don't get any
could
of
be.
that.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I got it. I mean, I got it more out of the digital stuff than I did out of the real preamps, but it was still noticeable. It's just something about the power section and the real cabs, the way they do things, the way they make high end. It's just real. It's not fake high end. It's the real thing. It's an actual speaker. There's not like this horn tweeter next to it creating the high end for you.
Right.
Guitars weren't made to be put through horns. So I mean there's that and it's the power section. There's just a mixture of things. And I know that it sounds like I'm sniffing corks here and just being nitpicky, but honestly, once you hear it, you can't unhear it, and it's not a thing that's subtle. It's very obvious to you. And uh, like I said, there were several months where I didn't play through an FRFR cab, and I started doing it again because of my Kemper profiles that I make. And I was like, oh my God, there it all is again. And it
Yeah.
was like such a stark reminder, like it's there. It's so there. And that's why I tell people play an amp for 3 weeks and then go back to a digital platform and then see what's what.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a huge advocate for like if there are, 3 or 4 products on the market and they all kind of do the same thing, look at the reviews on those products, man. Do some research on your own, see what kind of feedback people are giving off, and how the product, like the longevity of the product for one, to how it does, and just buy the cheapest one. If it
yeah.
has good reviews, it doesn't need to be the most expensive to be the best out of all those.
Yeah.
And it might not be
Yeah,
the best, but if
exactly.
it gets the job done and you're saving money, then get that. Like, it doesn't need to be
Yeah.
the most expensive thing out there for it to be, the end all be all.
Well, I think everybody should keep an amp around to keep them grounded, and I think the MT15 is a very affordable amp and is very good, and I think it's worthy of keeping around just to keep you grounded. Bounce your tones off of that. I want to read a couple comments here. I
Yeah,
just want
dude,
to make
I'm
sure
I'm
that
scrolling now because it's
yeah, I want to
people are
bring
going
some
nuts.
people in here. Um, let's see. Ben Burnett had a comment back here. Gosh, where did it go?
Was it
Uh,
if finance is allowed? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
switch to he would switch to Kemper from the main product we're talking about right now instantly, all due to one person who made presets and what he said to me when I had trouble loading the presets.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's the very instance I was talking about.
yeah.
That's been what 7 8 months, and we don't forget.
Yeah, We don't forget, man.
We
I
don't
mean,
forget.
you never forget when you know, that's what they say, don't meet your heroes, right? I mean, it's like, you meet some of these people and you're just like, and you have some kind of interaction business-wise or personally with them, and you're like, "Oh my god, I never thought this person would be this way."
Right.
And they're a certain way on camera, but off camera, they're completely different, and it's like, wow, they're taking their customers for granted. And it's like I said last night, if you bought presets from these people, these two specific individuals, well, I should say three, you're not a customer, you're a victim because
Yeah.
you've been taken advantage of, lied to, and swindled, and it's really sad, it really is. And then, um, Andrew Stone Rock says, I think it's important to remember that digital products aren't supposed to sound like an amp in the room. They're supposed to sound like an amp mic'd in your control room. Yes, you're right.
Yep.
Um, but they're supposed to sound good, and that's really what it comes down to. It's they're supposed to sound good. And somebody mentioned Rhett Shull has some decent presets. Yeah, I honestly don't recommend that you buy presets. I really don't. I mean, Rhett Scholl. I mean, it would be comical if he dialed in a metal preset because he wouldn't know a metal preset if it sat on his face. I mean, he doesn't know metal. He's a dad rock guy. He's a classic rock guy, and he plays that kind of music, indie rock, stuff like that. And if he made a metal preset, it would be a caricature of what we would want. You know, just like when I reviewed presets the other night, I'm not going to review presets that are outside of my wheelhouse because I might think it sucks, but it sucks for what I do, not for what they do.
Yeah.
So why would I step into that realm when I got no reason to be over there. I mean, it's just I got no business though in that kind of genre. It's not my thing. So I stick with what I know.
Yeah.
Um, you
Defcon
know,
Clark says one of the problems is that you can't please everyone, which is very true, man. He said the 80/20 model is the way to get presets out for others to adjust to their taste. That's the only way,
it is.
man. Because when
It
these
is.
these creators are making these presets, who knows what kind of I mean, they're going to list it in their description, like they usually
Well, they
list.
should.
Yeah. Well, I hope they're listing what they're using, but
Yeah.
different kinds of pickups with different outputs, different woods, and I don't know if everybody would subscribe to the tone wood thing. I mean, I've heard acrylic guitars that sound amazing, but um, there are just so many variables. Like, what kind of playback systems were they using when they actually recorded that mix to listen back to? And Glenn, what's his name? Glenn Fricker always says the ultimate test is the car test. So if you can
Yeah.
record it just single track, throw it in your if you have a car with a good
Decent
audio
stereo.
system, yeah, pretty good stereo system,
Yeah.
throw it in there, and if it sounds good in there,
Yeah.
then and if it
Be good.
plays good and feels good, then you're probably
Yeah.
onto something, and stick with that formula.
Well, and the thing is like I the funny thing is like I'm building a website right now. It's almost done. Because like people started asking me like, you're having all these amps on your channel every Wednesday night and they sound incredible and you have a Kemper. Why aren't you profiling these amps and selling profiles? And I'm like, man, I never really thought about doing that. But I started thinking about it more and more. And I'm like, well, I guess you're right. I've had enough people ask me, so maybe I'll start doing that. So I looked into it. I got my Kemper down here one day. I got the equipment and I trust my ears because every time I've dialed in an amp on my show and I watch it back on because I got that Bluetooth system in my car, I pop my phone in my car, drive around, listen to the show, and it sounds incredible. My home theater system, my studio monitors over there, and I'm always like, dude, this sounds incredible. And I can get those same tones for people if I profile the amp with those exact settings and exact mic, placements and everything. So I decided to start making Kemper profiles, build a website, and put them up there, and it'll be available soon. But I never thought about doing Helix presets other than, um, four cable method, which is how I use it. And I would design some four cable method presets for people so that they can use them. But I always kept in mind the 80/20 rule, because like my Kemper profiles, they're going to be made for heavy, like hard rock slash metal, prog kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you get a preset from or a profile from me on the Kemper, it's going to have 80% of what you want. It's going to be great. And I've sent them out to people, new subscribers, subscribers that have been with me for a while, other people. And the thing is, they get back with me and they always say the same thing. These sound so far. These sound incredible. I love them. They sound really good. They feel great. I had to turn the bass down a little and I backed the gain off a little, but everything else is actually quite enjoyable for me. And I really like these. And I just say, there it is. That's the 80/20. But if they come back with me with like, they weren't really for me, and here's why, and they give me this laundry list, I very much value that information and I don't get butthurt by it, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it won't ever happen, but I want to stay within that 80/20 thing. I don't
Yeah.
want people that are going to be like, they're perfect right out of the box. Cause that would be like, all right, dude, maybe for some people that would work, but I mean, I know there's got to be some changes done to them and it's okay. It's fine. It should be that way because your guitar, your playing style, your needs, your taste, there's subjectivity involved. All that stuff is different for everybody, but
Yeah.
they should at least be good enough where they're not going to chuck them,
How
and say I
how
don't want them.
how do people pursue like a refund for presets? Is that just like across the board generally not a thing? Because you already have the file downloaded, it's in your
Yeah,
system. I don't think a lot of people really honor.
they don't because how do you do that when it's almost like rent, the whole prom dress thing, like you're buying this, and you're not returning it because we know it's prom season and we know that you're going to come back and it's going to smell like champagne and cigarettes and you want us to take it back and give you a full refund. I don't think so. Next time go see a rental, honey. And it's the same thing with presets. Like, yeah, I bought these but I don't like them, but really what it is I'm a douchebag and I just want to keep them and not pay for them. I mean, let's face it, that happens. And you can't do that. You can't risk that as somebody that's making presets and stuff. I mean, the main thing is like just be you know honest with yourself and make sure that you're putting out stuff that's really good. And it just should be good. And here's the other thing: you got to offset the people. Okay, so you got a lot of people getting your profiles or presets, and it's very easy for them to click and drag them into an email and send them to their buddies, right? So it's like if you give, so you got to understand that that's going to happen. You have no control over that. So the no refund policy kind of makes up for that too. So it's kind of a wash.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I can see
And you
that.
have to look at it that way. I mean, it sucks. I would feel bad. I really would feel bad if somebody emailed me and said these are not for me. I can't stand them. They don't work, and I'm sorry. All sales are final. But it's like I also have to think about the guy that loved them and shared them with 10 of his friends. I got to even the playing field with that. It's unfortunate, but that's what you got to do,
Yeah,
um so it would take a lot for me to give a refund. Like I would really have to have a detailed kind of complaint where it's like, like I said earlier, I'm a pressure washer. If I wash someone's house and they call me and say, I just thought it'd be cleaner, it'd be like, no, that's not going to work. You're going to pay me. You know what I mean? I mean, I need details. If I'm going to go out and address something, I can't be I just thought it would be cleaner complaint. That doesn't get me off the
yeah,
couch,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Tell me how I can, resolve the situation for you. Bring a
Yeah.
some form of a like suggestion to the table rather than just complain
Yeah.
about it and ask for your
Yeah,
money back.
exactly. Well,
Yeah,
it's like the whole like going back to your steak analogy. Yeah, I don't like this. Well, okay, what can we do? Is it undercooked? Is it overcooked? I just don't like it. Well, how am I supposed to fix that? Because we cooked it medium well, and it's like that's what you wanted, and you want me to go back and make another medium well steak for you know what I'm saying? It's like you have to tell me, or else
yeah,
you're gonna eat the steak or pay for it. I don't care, but I need to know more than I just don't like it. Like, was it not steaky enough for you? I mean,
yeah,
it's just stupid. You can't do that. So that's what I mean. You got to be specific, and it would take a lot of details for me to go. All right, I guess I could see why that would be the case. Um, but you gotta just do it that way. But getting back to what I was saying about the whole profiles and presets thing, I mean, because I did this episode the other night and saw how bad these presets were on the Helix that I reviewed, I was like, you know what? I wasn't gonna do Helix presets on my website because of what we said earlier. Like, people don't like them, they're not to their taste or whatever. But I actually see a need. I actually do see a need for somebody to make some presets that are at least 80-20 presets.
For your
I know
genre, for your genre, like I've heard some
for
good
my
country
genre.
country
Yeah.
or blues, but like for what you
No.
do, and there is a market for that for sure.
Yeah.
There's a
I
total
mean,
market, and you should definitely jump on it and capitalize on it. And sorry for giving
yeah.
away a game plan right now, but I don't have, judging by what I've seen in the past few years with preset creators that have tried to,
Mm,
stroll into that realm, they don't have a
yeah.
freaking clue as is. So,
No.
it's just, right picking, it's low hanging fruit for you to just jump in and do. And
Well,
I've heard presets you've created before that sound relatively good, but this goes back to your earlier days too. Like when, you had some stuff that you couldn't dial out and like you had to get back to amps and stuff. So like with your knowledge now, do you think you're going to be able to create a better preset than you did back then?
yeah, that's like the question of the night, and I appreciate that question. And the answer is a resounding yes. It really is because now that I'm playing amps more, like every day I play amps. Every single day I play one of these amps. I either play my Synergy modules or this or the MT, and I'm constantly writing and recording and rehearsing on those. And so I immediately, anytime I sit down and write and play anything on a digital platform, I immediately hear the differences. I hear the issues. I hear all that, and I can easily now, with that knowledge and experience now, especially when I have it right here. It's not by memory; it's right here. I can compare it and say, all right, like Andrew Stone Rock said, it's going to sound like a mic'd up amp in a room, or in your control room. And if I can at least get that for you and get it within 80% of what you would consider perfect, then I should release this and at least give it to you and go, because some people might go, yeah, I really like this. I think this is definitely worth. It's kind of like me lending you this amp. I would bring it to your house and plop it on your counter, and you would. There's no way you would be like, yeah, that's good as is. You're going to turn this knob here. You're going to, you know what I mean? You're going to
Yeah.
turn a few knobs. It doesn't mean the amp's a piece of crap. No, it just means my settings are a little different than yours. But so that's what it's going to be. I want you to treat my preset or my Kemper profile as if I took this amp and handed it to you and said, "Here you go. Now, what are you going to do with it?" And if you don't have to do a lot of major tweaking, then it's a good thing for you. You know,
This is what I'm
what do
doing
you
with
hope?
it.
Gonna put these knobs back because they're in perfect spots here. But so yeah, that's kind of the whole gist of it. I mean, a preset or a profile should be so good that you should be able to just pick it up and be inspired right away and hear it and go, "Oh my god, this is incredible. All right, let me just make it mine. Turn a few things and done."
Yeah.
You should not have to spend any more than like 2 minutes on it, to make it yours, and if you do, wrong preset, you
Yeah.
know, it shouldn't have to be like that. Yeah, maybe a couple hours from now, you might turn another knob a little bit here and there because you played several songs
Ear
and
fatigue.
whatever. But yeah, ear fatigue, whatever. But the thing is, though, is like I won't release anything unless I got like this iPad here. It's got all my mixes in it. I use it on my channel, and it's all hooked through my system. So I'll test it in mixes. I'll test it in like all of my mixes. I'll test it on my studio monitors, my Friedman cabs, my real power section and real cabs. I'll test it with all that stuff, and it won't be an engineer's pack. It will be a player's pack because I don't know if people understand this, but if you played the tone and the settings associated with that tone that an engineer it used for a studio mix, you would hate it. you would absolutely freaking hate it. It doesn't play well. And here's why. Here's what an engineer does. He records you with a DI in the studio. And then what he'll do after you're gone doing your tracking for the day while you're sleeping and eating ice cream with your kids, he's got an amp sitting here
He's gonna
or
reamp
a
you.
digital platform, and he's reamping it. And he's adjusting the amp so that it sounds good in the mix, but you're not in the equation anymore. You're not playing. These are not involved. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and if you say, "Hey, man, I want to take that tone on the road with me. It sounds incredible." All right, careful what you wish for. And then you take that tone with you, and you're like, "Oh, this is not how it sounded in the yeah, it is how it sounded. It's not how it felt though."
Yeah.
You gotta bring some of that stuff back in, some of the bass, some of the mids, some of the treble, some of the gain. Because you know what engineers do? Oh, let's take that gain and there we go. We'll just turn it down more because I'm quad tracking and too much gain just makes everything muddy. Well, you're single tracking when you play live. You're gonna want that shit right back up to where you had it, and you're gonna want to enjoy that because you're live. You need a little bit of grace to cover your mistakes,
And then
and
he
plus,
he, he can he can always reamp it with lower gain.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I won't make engineers like presets or profiles. I'm going to make players presets and profiles for you, for the
Right.
person that's going to play it. I don't care what the engineer thinks. You know why? Because when he records you through whatever gear that you're going to bring in, he's going to sculpt it to what he needs, anyways. And most of them have templates. I'm an engineer. I understand how that shit works. Whether I'm doing it live or in the studio, I have templates. So it's like, and here's the other thing. Let's say you bring in a Kemper profile or a Helix preset on stage or in a studio, and it's all sculpted already, and you're running it through a guy's template. Guess what happened? It just got castrated twice. Once by you because it's already been castrated once, and now it's going through his template that's dual castration.
Yeah.
So now you got no balls.
You have all your
You
high
know.
cuts already dialed in on your home setup or your practice
Yep.
area. So your high
Yep.
cuts are all taken down. You're like, okay, this sounds good. And then you get to this venue, plug in,
Hmm.
go direct, and this guy presses, on his board, boop, and there's his
Yep. High pass, low pass,
4K cut right on top of it. So
okay
yeah, you're
cut.
right.
Yep.
Double dipping on it, and then
Exactly. So that's why you want to give somebody a preset or a profile that has none of that neutering done to it. It's just raw. It's just a great raw ampy type feel and sound so that when you go up to a board or a studio, you all that stuff will get done anyways to it and you'll be set. But in your in-ears or your monitor, it's going to sound exactly how you're used to. So here's the other thing. I'll bet you all you guys that are watching right now didn't realize this, and you're taking your sculpted stuff onto a stage. And have you ever once gone to a sound engineer and said, "Hey, do you have a template that has all the cuts on it already? Because my stuff's already cut." See what I'm saying? So this whole time, you've
yeah.
been double cut on all your systems that you've played through. And that's something that this is inside baseball. This is a sound engineer telling you this now. So next time you go on stage and you have a Helix or a Kemper or whatever, you need to ask that guy, and I'll guarantee you 8 times out of 10, he's going to be like, "Yeah, I got a template up there." You know why? Because he's running sound for 5 bands in a row that night, and he doesn't have time to go, "All right, new template. I'm going to," he doesn't have time for that shit. He's got it all preset. It's called templates. And he does it on purpose so that he saves time and aggravation. And it's just a matter of how much is he going to do for this guy. It's tweaked. It's not set up. It's just fine tuned for that amp.
Well,
And that player.
here's another side of it too. Now that we're talking about this kind of live scenario, these engineers need to adapt. These sound guys need to adapt and create templates for, they have a template for probably a 212 cab, a 412 cab,
Yeah.
this type of mic, whatever,
Real amp,
SM,
it's a sim, all
exactly.
that.
They need to have a template for modelers that it's not as
Yeah.
aggressive,
Yeah.
or if it's
But they
just
need
flat.
to ask. Like, I would ask, like, but the thing is most guitar players don't know. Like, hey, is your stuff all sculpted? Most guys, I don't know. I bought my profiles from so and so. I don't know if they're sculpted. I don't know what's going on with them.
Right.
But I could tell you this: 90% of the players, guess who they were made for? They were made for mixing guys. They were made for studio guys, not and for live sound engineers, not for love to. Well, I'll buy these profiles for my studio so I could drag them, drop them in my mixes. So that's something that you guys don't realize, but it's true. My profiles and my presets are not going to be like that. They're going to be raw, and I that's what I've noticed when I play my stuff more than anything is when I compare it to a lot of the other stuff out there, it feels better. It's got that juiciness to it. It's got that bounciness to it, that give, that volley, that awesome kind of, you could feel the pick digging into the strings and stuff like that. It's got all that real ampy kind of feel, and when I play the other stuff, it doesn't have that. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I enjoy so much.
So I have
Um,
something. I have something
let me
quick.
let me take a quick break. I'll be right back. Okay. So go ahead and read some comments. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Andrew Stone Rock says, make sure you give out an IR. That way, it makes the purchase worth it. In case someone doesn't like it. You know what? That's actually a good suggestion. I'm wondering how that would work out because um, a lot of people make Kemper profiles. I'm not sure how many just general average consumers have the ability to make their own IR. I'm not really sure what goes into that. I've seen the process done before, but um, it's a huge hassle. I wonder if you could like just contact an IR company like I think it's Ownhammer or whatever, and license one of those impulse responses out that best suits that preset. So yeah, do the legwork up front, and you have to buy the presets up front, or maybe they'll send you a few to try out with the preset you created, and then you can license those for a certain cost. But then you better hope that you sell enough of those preset packs to offset that investment to that IR business. So I think that's a great suggestion, and I don't think it's impossible to capitalize on that. And that way, these customers that even if they aren't satisfied, it might still be a really good IR that they can use down the road. Let's see here. There are no. I like to stress that there are no rules for making tones. I can't get behind everything Jarrod says. I'm with him about 80% of the way. I'm not with Jarrod on 100% of the stuff either, but we do tend to agree on a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. So getting back to your thing regarding the IRs, I agree. Like if you're making presets for like the Helix or any other kind of modeler, and you're not giving people like an impulse response with that, I think it's just stupid because the impulse response is about 70% of the tone, and if you're giving them stock cabs and stuff like that, I think you're doing them a huge disservice. I mean, because you're going to dial in that preset according to the cab that it comes with. So not including that is like you're not including half of the homework or
Right.
70% of the homework that you're supposed to do to dial that in. Right? So, like, if I took this amp and hooked it up to 10 different cabs with 10 different speakers in it, I would dial it in differently based on what it was hooked up to? So that's part of the deal. So if you're not doing that, you're selling your customers short. I would always, in like the whole licensing thing, I would work with Live Ready Sound because Tim's a great guy and he's easy to work with. And I just unplugged my in ears. Um,
And he probably already knows what you like too. So like just you've already had that working relationship with Live Ready Sound. So he's gonna be like, okay,
yeah,
so what kind of thing are you trying to create? Oh, I'm trying to model this kind of amp. This is like the core foundation of this preset
yeah.
I'm after. He's gonna probably have a palette of suggestions for you and be like, okay, so this is the one.
Yeah. Now, somebody, I saw you reading something. Somebody said they don't agree with, and that's okay. I just want to see what that's about.
I don't know.
Um, with 80% of whatever, I'm trying to catch up here. Wow, there's a lot of great comments here.
I know,
Um,
man.
just trying to find this.
Tattoo. Oh, this is This one, it's the Kamikaze graphic from George Lynch's guitar.
I agree with Jarrod 80/20. No, it's all good. I mean, it's all different, and that's the thing. It's like he's probably just joking, but I mean, I don't expect everybody to agree with every single thing that I say, because the thing is when I do stuff on my channel, I want to learn from you as well. It's not just me going, let me bestow my greatness upon you all. It's nothing like that. It's like I'm going to share what I know,
Let's
and I
have
want you to share what you know so I can learn too.
let's have a
It's
conversation
kind of
about compressors in front of high gain amps.
oh, yeah. You don't as a general rule, I anytime I see a preset with a compressor in front of a high gain amp, I immediately throw up in my mouth because you don't do that.
Is that based
Are
off
there
of like an experience you had? Because I personally know people that use compressors in front of their high gain amps, and I've done that for many years. And I'll tell you what it does if you want to know.
all the time or just at certain times?
At certain times, but like probably
Okay, that's what I'm
50% of
saying.
the
Those are
time.
the exceptions.
But you said never.
Well, here's the thing. I also said that as a general rule, you don't put a compressor in front of an amp. As a general rule, there's always exceptions to that. But I personally would have absolutely 1 billion% never a reason to put a compressor in front of an amp because of the way I play. Again, are there reasons for it? Yeah, there's exceptions. Like,
Yeah.
should you drink? I mean,
Bleach.
should you eat candy? Well, no, but you know, there are birthdays, there's Christmas, there's times where you just want some, and it's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, but should you eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? No.
Shit.
That's what I'm talking
Here's
about.
what here's what people should never do. Run their like their helix or whatever into an amp,
Mhm.
like the return or something, or four cable method, whatever it is,
Uh-huh.
and load an IR in front
Oh,
of
yeah.
it. That, that's what people should never
that
do.
that people should never do. There's never an exception for that ever because it sounds like pure garbage
People
when you
ask
do
that
that.
all the time.
Yeah, so if you want to sound like ass, do that. Put that in front of it. And you know what's funny? Now that you bring that up, that's exactly 100% what all of those presets sounded like last night that I was reviewing.
Yeah,
The ones
the
that I
one was
didn't
super
like, they
honky,
sounded like that.
like
Huh?
paper. I think one of the presets I said it sounded like a megaphone with a like a paraffin like some paper cone. Like it wasn't like a normal speaker cone. It sounded like somebody had a piece of
Yeah.
paper up to their face and they were like just like screaming into it, making it vibrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
It
super
was so
thin.
bad. It literally, now that you bring that up, that's probably the best comparison I can give to a lot of those presets that I didn't like last night. Is it sounded like a guy running an amp, trying to get my cable here, running an amp, four cable method with an IR on top of the regular speaker cabinet, and it just had that honky, weird, dark but bright, brash kind of weird sound to it. It was just
Half cocked
awful.
kind of wah thing.
Had that kind of like this sound, but
Yep.
all the horrid frequencies came through, and it was like they squeaked through. And especially on the Rev Gen Red one, man, that was just awful. And what really sucked is like he had all these like stupid convoluted things in there. Like you got the amp, you got the cab, and then you have this crossover thing
And
that
then a
went down
shelf.
into the other thing, and you had a volume thing up here that was plus 10, and another volume thing block here that was just flat, so there was no reason for it to be there. And then on the bottom line, you had two EQs, and then you had a compressor at the end, and it was like, what the hell? And then you look at the amp, and all the tones sucked out of the amp and then put back in on these two different EQ blocks. One's a parametric, one's a something else, and then you got a compressor at the end. And it was like, okay, if you're going to go through all that trouble and then all you did was you took all the good frequencies out of the amp and replaced them with EQs with bad frequencies. And it was like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, it was just the worst way to set it up. And you know what this reminds me of is a guy that loves the sound of his own voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, I'm going to make this difficult so everybody thinks that I'm smart. And really, it's like, well, the test is in the tone.
DEFCON
The
says
truth is in the tone.
DEFCON says you can call that no tridina. You mean the two preset packs that are just really the same presets? Um, there's no difference, just the name. What's the difference? Well, I went into Microsoft Word and changed the font, and then I
Yeah,
re-uploaded it as something else.
yeah, it was funny because the one guy that did it, said, oh, he swore up and down like, oh, these are not cut and paste. These are all built from scratch. And Ben, who was in here, got them too, and he called me and said, dude, here's what he did. He did the exact same thing, same settings on everything except for the effects. Instead of something being like 4.1, it was 4.2. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
on the dials on the settings. And it was like, oh, so they are cut and paste. You just moved one thing on each effect, like point one everywhere to be like, see, it's not cut and paste. Like, I didn't copy off of Susie's test. See how I misspelled the here? So,
I'm a
like, really?
genius.
Yeah, I misspelled a word, so you couldn't say that I copied off of Susie. Like, give me a freaking break.
All right.
These guys are literally so bad. They're crapping all over their customers, and their customers are licking their boots, and it's just so bad. And I'm here. I am trying to help these guys to achieve better tone. And you saw the episode where I had this. My screen was just loaded on my Helix with all the stuff on this one guy's patch, and it sounded like pure just rubbish. And I live on my show, I dialed in a patch within probably less than 2 minutes that
Yeah.
blew it away with 4 blocks. Without all the routing and this and the confusion and all the crazy crap. And then the one guy that had the Kraken patch,
What was the
and
amp model? It was a Line 6.
it was a Line 6 Epic or something
Yeah.
that he used. And it was like, but he called it a Kraken. And I had the Kraken here, so I shot him out, and the Kraken completely blew it away. And it wasn't even that it sounded better. It did. It sounded 100 times better, but it sounded so different. It was so different from it. It was like, how do you even call that a Kraken? If I was Victory Amps, I'd be calling that guy and going, dude, here's a cease and desist letter. You need to pull that shit out of the Helix now. That is a horrible
Well, it's
representation.
it's not even in the Helix because
It's not even
the
exactly.
Kraken is not a model within the Helix. When they do the modeling for this, I watched a video where they talk about like they measure every parameter with an O-scope and these multimeters and stuff, and they have algorithms that they created based on the capacitors that they're measuring and where they are in the circuit in an amplifier, and that's how they
Yeah,
create these models to be as true to the actual thing as they can possibly get it right now with the technology that we have.
exactly. Yep.
And I'm not sure if they have like a cutoff time, like how long are we allowed to spend on each model or whatever, but we obviously know how long it takes to come out with these models,
A couple
and the
months. Yeah.
video clearly outlines how much work they do. They have the
Mhm.
chassis open, they have the chassis pull out
Yeah.
of the cabinet for the amp. It's flipped over
Mhm.
on top of the transformers, and they're literally dissecting this thing, and they have
Yeah.
an algorithm that they
Yep.
can map this thing out. With
Point to
with
point.
with this situation, it's somebody's just trying to get close to that sound, but who knows what the hell their reference was in the first place? Because as you just encountered last night, the tone you tried out is worlds
Not even
away
close.
from what you actually have there.
It was literally like serving turkey at a restaurant, and then people start eating it, and they're going, "What is this?" Well, it's tofurkey. It's it's made out of tofu, but hey, it's shaped like a turkey. So bon appetit.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, get your tofu profiles out of my freaking Helix, would you? I mean, it literally what this guy does, and it wasn't just a Kraken, it was a Wagner Ecstasy, a VH4, diesel VH4. It was a Kraken. It was like 4 or 5 other amps that aren't even in here, and they're all tofu. Oh, here's tofu, this, tofu, that. And
Yeah.
you're playing this going, this does not sound like it. And they all sounded the same. They all had that same real amp going through a cab, but in between there was an impulse response. It had that honky, crappy sound, where all the horrible frequencies eke through,
Sounds like
and
the
I'm like,
adults from Peanuts.
what's that?
You remember the Peanuts show where all the adults
Yeah.
sounded like
Oh yeah, yeah. They sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher. Yeah, I mean, it was so bad. It's like, dude, can you really, like, with a straight face, put these up on your website and sell them for 24.99?
That
Twenty
situation
four
is,
ninety nine.
hey, I need that red crayon over there. Can you hand it to me? Sure. It's a purple Sharpie.
Yeah,
I asked for red crayon. That is a red crayon, but this is a
yeah.
purple
In my
Sharpie.
world.
No, it's a red crayon. Use it. Okay.
Or tofurkey, please. Can you pass the fake potatoes as well while you're at it? I mean, give me a break. I mean, these guys that do this crap, I mean, it's really sad. Let me read some comments here.
Defcon says
The
he likes your badonk patch you made.
Let's see, Ben Burnett, they're using compressor to get sustain, like the Boss Comp sustainer pedal. Why it compares the tone, gets natural compression from the power amp section.
Because it
Yeah,
smooths
you're
it out
right.
for leads, and it's like for my style, like the Yngwie Malmsteen kind of thing. When I flick it up to the neck position, what it does for me is you can almost hear the strings slapping against the wood, and I love that sound. So with
Yeah,
a lower gain situation, like I'm talking about, like if I'm using my high gain head and I just have the volume rolled back a little bit with the neck position up,
yeah,
there's a lot of guys
yeah,
that don't do that at all. They don't have a freaking pickup selector on the guitar. They just have an
yeah,
EMG
yeah,
and they're like, this is tone. I'm
yeah.
not that kind of guy. So that's why people like me use compressors in front of it. Try it
Yep.
one day.
And it happens. Like I said, there are exceptions. There are exceptions. But the thing is, though, is for if you want that chunky, tight kind of percussive tone that I like to use, I'll never use a compressor because I love that attack and that percussive thing. And compressors just glue everything together, and it just doesn't work for me. Now, if I was to use a clean channel, absolutely, I use a compressor with that because I don't want when I'm plucking notes or doing anything arpeggiated for the notes to sting people's ears as they come out of the speakers. I want it to be nice and smooth and kind of the same volume. Get rid of some of the dynamics because I don't really want a lot of dynamics when I'm playing cleans. I just want something smooth, lush, and very pleasant to listen to with that nice sparkle on top. And there's a way to balance all that out. But with high gain tones, with what I do, absolutely not. The amp, like Ben said, has compression in it. It's what its job is,
Well, I mean, you got to crank the master to a lot for the natural compression to actually
But I
happen.
get enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
get
mean
what you're
that's
saying.
yeah, I mean Sweetwater. I'm looking at it right now. A write up about compressors in front of a high gain amps. It's from 2015. Google it, you'll find it. And I read through it
Yeah.
actually today after you said that last night, and I was like, was he like maybe not for him, but I know I love it. I don't use it all the time,
No,
but it
it's
has its
fine. I mean,
place.
yeah, if you like it, I think it's great. That's
Yeah,
what there's no rules. But I mean, just I was just saying, like as a general rule, if you're looking at a high gain patch and it's got a compressor in front of it, my red flags go up for me. And it wasn't just that one; it was all of them. And I'm like, what the hell is this compressor doing here?
it's
Why
probably
is this
for
guy?
sustain.
And so not only did it have a compressor, but it didn't have an overdrive. I don't know any metal players that don't use an overdrive. Now here comes all the comments. Well, we use one, so whatever. But I'm just saying, like, as a general rule, you want to use an overdrive. You just
Yeah.
do. This amp's pretty damn tight, but oh my god, is it amazing with an overdrive in front of it? And you know what really made me super confident with that was when I met Misha Mansour last summer, and I interviewed him, and he did that clinic here at Motor City Guitar, and we're hanging out, and he's just like, before I came, they asked me, they were like, can you bring, because I got a precision drive and it's his pedal, his signature pedal. And they were like, can you bring it? He doesn't have one. He was hoping the store would have one when he got here, and we don't. So I brought it to him, and I was like, yeah, you can use it. And he signed it. You can actually, I don't know if you can see it. He signed it right here, but, um, anyway, so I was like, I'm curious as to know, what your settings would be. And he looked at it. He goes, actually, your settings are pretty good. He goes, I would just nudge a few things, and he actually went a little higher on some of my settings, which I thought was cool. And he's playing his own signature amp, which is the Invective 100 watt or 120 watt amp, which I did review on my show, and is an amazing amp. But even with his own signature amp, he still used an overdrive with it, and he's an amazing player. And I was like, right there, that just summed it up for me,
Right.
because you know what I mean? When you see players better than you that are just renowned players and gear nerds, and they're using this kind of stuff, it's like, you know what? I don't feel inadequate because I use an overdrive pedal. I just, if he's using it, then why shouldn't I? He's better than me. you know, um, you know, uh, Warm Chord Music earlier said something like about the Rev amp. He said that we had his Rev amp on the show a couple weeks ago, and it did not sound anything like what the Rev was in the profile or the presets that I played last night. And he's 100% right. Those presets were laughable
Do you
compared to that Rev amp.
do you
You
remember
know?
that night? This was like maybe a year and a half ago. You were talking about the Kemper. It was not too long after you got it, but you tried the rev profiles. I remember I went down to like just north of Detroit, and I picked up a road case from some guy, and it
Yeah.
happened to be the dude that like he bought it from like one of James's friends or something like that.
Um,
And you were telling me on the way back while I was driving back home that you tried out a rev profile and you're like, it's gooey and it sucks. And I was like, have you ever played a rev? And you're like, no, but I would never want to. Like that's yeah. Like you were telling me about those rev profiles. I remember that.
yeah, I've tried some from different players, but I tried Jay's from Warp Card Music, and actually his were very accurate compared to what I've tried. And the Rev amp is actually much tighter than what those profiles that I tried. I don't remember where I got these profiles, but they're really gooey, and I'm like, that ain't right. And then Jay sent me his, I don't know, sometime after that, I can't remember. But then I was like, well, actually, these are actually really good. So, so I tried those out, and I really liked those. And I actually profiled his amp when he brought it over, and nothing against him or his profiles, but I preferred mine, and this is why, because I profiled the amp set up the way I like the amp,
Right.
and I'm kind of a gainiac. I don't like gain floored, but I like it, around. I always profile amps with gain a little higher than usual, because with a Kemper, you can always bring it back, and the Kemper knows what the gain's doing there. But anytime you turn the gain up, the Kemper's guessing. So I want to keep my stuff real. So I'd rather have you turn things down than turn them up, because at that point, with Kempers, anything anything you add is fake. Anything you take out is real, if that makes sense. So I'd rather you not enhance something. I'd rather you dehance it. Um,
That's what
but as
the
good as Jay's profiles were, I just preferred mine, again, because I set the amp up the way I liked it.
yeah.
That worked for my style of playing. So, and
That's
that's what I always tell people.
yeah, that's
You know,
something I
you
want people to know about on my channel too. So the Kemper, and when you profile an amp, you're taking a snapshot in time of those settings,
yes,
for that amp. Anything you change, like you can tweak the lows, the mids, the highs, whatever you want on the Kemper itself, but the Kemper is guessing. It's an algorithm that it's applying to that snapshot.
exactly. Yeah, it's literally like, and let me just say this again: if you're into like just regular modern, straightforward modern rock, and stuff like that, then Jay's profiles will be perfect for you. You know, and conversely, you metal guys, you'd probably like his profiles too. It's all a matter of taste. But but I just want to make sure I say that so that I'm being fair, because his profiles were very good. I just, like I said, it's almost like you're having somebody set up your amp for you. I mean, like, you wouldn't like this amp right here if I set it up for you as much as you would like it the way you set it up. It's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. So it's almost like a Kemper profiles. If you guys that are watching this on mobile phones, if you screenshot what you're seeing right now, that's a Kemper profile. It's exactly what is happening right now. you know, and then you can take the amp and turn the knob a little bit and profile it again in that setting. That's why when you buy Kemper packs, you get like 60 profiles because it's with the amp set this way. Then they set it this way. Then they turn the gain here. Then they hit this switch, and they, that's what it is. And what I try to do is I set it in a pretty neutral setting and give you like, okay, this is neutral, everything at noon. So there's your noon setting. And after that, I'll set it how I like it. I'll turn the gain up to here around 2 o'clock, scoop the mids a hair, and boost the treble a little bit, and turn on the resonance in the back and make it a little punchier, and then I'll profile it that way, and I'll go, here you go. Here's my settings, and here's the amp with everything at noon, and then maybe I'll tilt everything to like 2 o'clock, and then everything at 10 o'clock.
Right.
You know, and that way when you get your profile, I tell people this, like, there's going to be too much gain, but that's what I want you to have. I want you to have too much gain so you can pull a little out, make it work for you. Because again, the Kemper knows what the gain's like from 0 to 2 o'clock. But at 3 o'clock, it's like when you turn it up to 3 o'clock, the Kemper's like, well, I think it would do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that to you. I want to give you too much so you can pull it back and deal with reality. So that's what I do.
There's another topic I want to talk about too, and I'm paying a lot of attention to a certain amp community right now, and I see some people that are kind of asking the community about if they should sell their amp because it doesn't have enough low end. Well, there's a few factors that come with that. So how are you using that amp? Are you going direct with it? Because these amps in particular, you can go direct. It has like a built-in load box. You don't need a cab. There's also scenarios where they might have a 112 or a 212 or a 412. But there's a big difference between a B52 412 with Chinese speakers and then, an EVH 5153 412 or a Vader cab or something like that. There's a massive difference. So it's kind of hard to vet those kind of people that are inquiring on maybe getting rid of an amp without knowing what they're actually using it through. Are you using an overdrive in front? What gauge strings are you using? There's a lot of factors there. But instead of doing that, use some resources. Like I have amps that I was considering selling too, cabs, trying different speakers to try to get that low end thump back that I was looking for on stage. I run my 412s in a road case that it's padded, it's on casters, and this is my fly rig board, but that's the depth finder. And Jarrod, you still got to check this out, man.
Yeah, I know. I want one.
You want the low end. You want the low end. That's literally the presence and resonance from a 5150.
Point to it, because I don't know which one it is on your board. Point to it for me.
Oh, I'll show you here in a second. You see it?
You make a terrible Vanna White. I can't. Is it though? The white, is it right next to the yellow or the orange cables there?
Yeah, it's the silver thing with two knobs.
Oh, okay. Dude, I want to get one of those so bad because as much as I love my Synergy rig, I think some of the modules could use a little more kind of fullness and low end, and I think that would definitely give them that, wouldn't it?
Yep. Dude, this thing, this is the product for you. This is product of the year for you.
Yeah. Because I'm like Mr. Beefy guy. I love beefy tone. I love really fat, ridiculous, thunderous tone.
Yeah,
so.
I wanted like my tone, but I also wanted more low end. So what this thing allows you to do is, like, I was pretty much not diming my bass and resonance on controls on my amp, but it was pretty close, and my tone was just kind of muddy as a result. So I used the precision drive to clean it up and tighten it up. But it was like just too much. It was like too much seasoning on your chicken or something. And getting this thing, what I was able to do is you dial it back to where your amp isn't screaming anymore, and you take away all that mud, and then you could still hit it with an overdrive or whatever, but you add all of that low end back in with this thing, and it sounds.
Now, does that go in your loop or front or what?
I run mine through the front. You can run it in the loop though. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's sweet, man.
Dude, I want to get one. I really do.
They're like $90. I think they're going to be discontinued because
Oh,
James,
Jim Brown, man.
yeah, he
Yeah,
went to EVH or
I
Fender.
know. I know. Yeah, I
So
better get one soon. And here's the thing too. You want to know what the highest selling EVH amp is going to be?
what's that?
The
His?
next one that James Brown makes.
Yeah.
That amp is going to sell like freaking hotcakes. That's a nice little board, man.
You like it? Yeah, I did all the
Yeah,
cables myself.
yeah.
Here, let me move
Did it
this.
himself. Is that camera supposed to be in the shot?
Oh, it's only for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but all the just the square
Oh, I
plug
see.
SP
Because it's not
400s.
on. Oh, it's weird because it's not on this shot. Okay. Yeah, James Brown, man, he's gonna make the most sought after EVH, the next EVH amp. You know that everyone's gonna be clamoring for that. I know they are because he's the one that made the original 5150.
Yeah.
So that one's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be block letter part two, right? Because he's back.
Yeah, this
You
thing
know,
this thing for real, I'm telling you what. Mike runs the two 410 mark bass. I don't know like what they are, but I know they're 410s. He runs two of those, and his bass amp is thunderous. My single 412 cab eats his stuff a lot,
really.
so I have to like dial it back too to make sure that I'm not like cutting in
Wow.
too much. But
Yeah.
you need to try this ASAP.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Steve Shaheen asked, "Is the depth finder a sonic maximizer? Is
No,
it
it's
kind of
not.
the same thing?"
No,
So it's more of a low end kind of thing. It's more of a fullness.
it's a presence and resonance control, which somebody asked that question a little while ago. Is it kind of like a BBE sonic maximizer? No, it's not. And
So it's a
it also doesn't give the same
presence control.
resonance and presence control. It's labeled right on the thing. It's not like
Oh, so it
this is a
does
low.
presence as well.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
it's not like just your standard EQ.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it adds not goo and flubbiness. It just adds like this big warm shockwavy kind of thing, right?
Correct. Yep.
So there's those really low frequencies that don't interrupt your pick attack and make it sound flubby
Right.
and crap like that, right?
Yep.
Dude, I want one. I want one bad. I got to get one.
I usually keep my
You
treble
know.
dialed back pretty far, and I'll use presence instead because it's more sparkly on the amps I own and the tones I create.
Mm. Yeah.
So, do we have any
Yeah,
questions
I'd
here?
be interesting. Yeah, I want to check one of those out big time. I mean, I think it's really cool that James Brown is back with with Eddie and making amps. And speaking of which, I mean, we touched on the subject earlier. We might as well kind of wrap up the live stream with this topic then. Expensive amps. We were talking about the Friedman stuff earlier and stuff like that. I've had a lot of amps on the show, and I've definitely regained a lot of experience with stuff like that. And we got the Soldanos coming out, with new amps. They got the what is it, the 30 watt,
30 watt and the
the
100 watt
and the 100 watt, and the 30
DC
watt's going to be
heaters.
$2,500. Oh my god, and then the 100 watt is going to be 4 grand, I believe, or more.
I mean,
And
that's what the used ones are going for. The 100 watt
yeah,
Soldanos are
well,
going for like
and the thing
482.
is in the groups, there's guys that justify it because they're like, well, the used ones are going for that. And it's like, well, yeah, because you can't get them anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, of course. I mean, if something's not made anymore, it's just like a dying artist. As soon as he's dead, everything he did is like worth more now. This poor painters, they die and then all their stuff's worth something. So I'm surprised that most painters that haven't figured out they should fake their own death. They'd be freaking trillionaires, but maybe I just gave away a secret. Um, but the thing is, though, is you can't base the new version of the amp on what the old ones that you can't get anymore are selling for because they're all made by Mike Soldano. The new ones are not. They're made in a factory.
Boutique, yeah.
Um, so boutiques making them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not poo pooing that at all. I mean, I own a lot of stuff made by boutique. All the synergy stuff is, and is great stuff. But
It's hard to say, man.
you
I
know,
mean, there a lot of the components are obviously likely sourced still from overseas and stuff, but
possibly, yeah,
we're I mean, and that cost is baked in. You're paying wages,
sure,
for the people
I
actually
get,
making that. I'm not sure how long it takes to make each amp or what their hourly rate is. I'd like to assume, since they're, engineering something, that it'd be over $30 an hour. So it's it's kind of hard to say, but yeah, in terms of product, like competition and
Yeah.
best bang for buck, I would definitely tell somebody to buy a Black Spirit 200 before I would tell somebody to save up enough money for the $4,000 Soldano. Look at
So
the Hughes and Kettner, and I was telling you about this amp the other day, and this is the amp I'm saving up for right now. It's the Triamp Mark III, where you can load in any type of octal tube you want in the power
yep.
section, and you can run it from 50 watts to 150 watts. I believe you don't even need to run a cab with it. It has a built-in load box. It self-biases itself. Every time you swap out tubes, you can have EL34s, 6L6s, EL84s loaded in, I think KT88s, whatever you want to
That's
have. And you can run it all together, or you can run it
wow.
all by
That's
itself, man.
absolutely insane. And how much is that amp?
It's a
4 channels, right?
Yeah, it's pricey though. It's about
Okay. Well, how much?
high threes.
Okay. Fine.
But it
Fine.
self biases every time you need to get
Yeah.
an amp retubed. You're spending the money on the tubes, and you're spending the money on the tech to hopefully do a good job on this thing. The amp
Yeah.
just freaking knows. If you blow a power tube, it goes down to 100 watts or to 50 watts, and you're still playing the gig.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's got 4 channels. It's
Hmm.
got all the stuff that you mentioned. And does it have MIDI switching and all
Oh,
that
dude,
capability?
the best MIDI switching. Yeah, it learns quick.
Okay. All right. So there's your benchmark. You said high threes.
Yeah,
Let's just say 3,800, right? About 3,800
you
bucks.
can find them used for like $2,200. Yeah,
Okay, but I'm talking new,
new. Yeah,
new street. So new street about 3,800, you saying?
yeah,
Okay. All right. So now let's take another amp that's 3,800, the Friedman 100 watt, the JJ. Okay. Um, it has 2 channels and it has a switch on it to go from the BE 100 mode to the JJ mode. No MIDI, only 2 channels, and that's it. It's $3,800. And people are like, well, yeah, but it's a Friedman and they're handmade. Okay, well, let me give you another example. They're made in America. Mesa Boogie. Okay, you have a JP Mark II C plus.
yeah.
Okay, you have 3 channels. You have an amazing clean channel. You have 2 high gain channels, and they both are very, very programmable to whatever they have the post and pre EQs. Okay, you have the famous, of them that you can assign to whatever channel, MIDI switchable. It has shred mode for like low tune guitars, and it makes it more tighter and attacky for that. Takes pedals well. Effects loop, again, with the MIDI stuff. I mean, and it sounds incredible. It'll sound any way you want it to.
Here's
You got all these different modes, and it's made in America by hand in California, same state as the Friedman stuff, and it's $27.99,
right.
$1,000 cheaper,
Here's
and it gives you way more.
here's a feature, and you can recall, so you can change every time you make a preset and store for a new MIDI patch. So like
Yeah,
you have like on your MIDI controller A B C D, clean,
yeah,
overdrive, lead 1, lead 2.
yeah.
So you can just tweak the knobs on the amp, and then when you go to store it, the physical knobs on the amp will remain in the last place you left them, but it will recall
uh,
where those knobs were, right?
yeah.
The
Okay.
Hughes and Kettner does the same thing. So that technology alone is like having the snapshots of Helix,
Yeah,
where you press
exactly.
down and turn and
Yeah.
stuff. Like that's
Yep.
largely in the amp community unheard of kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. And it's like I laugh at these guys that are like these huge Friedman fans, and they're like, "Oh
Lawyers.
man, I got a Friedman." And it's like, okay, so you got the most basic bitch amp out there with zero features, zero programmability. Yeah, it's a well-built amp. I'll give them that. It's well built, but so is the Hughes and Kettner. So is the Mesa, so are these other amps out there that are hand built in the same freaking state that the Friedmans are built in. But these guys are giving you way more options, way more features, way more flexibility, way more channels. And frankly, they sound better. And it's like, why do people pay? It's like a doctor lawyer amp. It's like, I've got a Friedman. Well, good for you. You got a
Yeah.
Friedman, and I'm sure it's a great amp. I'm not knocking the Friedman stuff, but for crying out loud, the price is like stupid. It's so stupid. And they charge so much money that they create raving fans just because of that, because these guys spend all this money on this amp and then they run around and beat their chest and defend it to their death, because anybody that has anything to say about it, oh, you attacked my identity, because their identity is now attached to that amplifier because they spent so much on it,
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, he's created these like diehard fans of their stuff, because I mean, if you spend that much money on something, you have to defend it. You have to run around and beat your chest and tell everybody how awesome it is, because if you don't, you're really just trying to convince yourself, not everybody else, of how good it is. And again, I'm not saying they're bad amps. They're just not worth what they're charging, especially when you compare it to other amps on the market like Rev. I had the Rev, the Rev Generator 120 down here, and it's like 3 grand. Okay. And it's got 4 channels on it, and they all sound incredible. And it's MIDI. It's got all the different various features in it that anybody would ever want in an amplifier, and it sounds absolutely incredible. And it's like, why would you spend all this kind of money on a Friedman when you can get something like that sounds better, plays better, and has all the switchability and the features and stuff like that on it that the Friedman doesn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, at least Dave could do is put a couple extra knobs and features and switches in the damn thing and put some MIDI in it. Like, what the hell are you thinking?
MIDI would be
Like,
cool.
yeah, like, for crying out loud, man, like, put that on there. And it's the same thing with Soldano. When that amp comes out with a 30 watt, it's going to be a basic bitch 2 channel amp with no features on it at all. And it's going to be $2,500 in its 30 watts.
I
Like,
think
really?
I think it's just because there's the cool kids club
It's
and
legendary.
nostalgia for people, and they want to chase like the Van Halen tone or the George Lynch sound or whatever. There's a
Yeah,
market for it. If I had the money, I'd spend the money on it, but I don't.
I wouldn't. I would never
If
spend
it
that kind
if
of
it
money.
was $2,000 cheaper, I'd buy one. But I want to address something
Yeah.
here. So Ben Burnett says, I tried working with Joe Tone, but I must have pissed the guy off because he quit returning messages midstream. So I'm searching for a custom pickup maker if anyone has any suggestions. Ben, I'm not going to address it here. I think I know why he stopped responding to you, but I'll touch base with him and see if you still did want to work with him. But and then second question: how often do you switch tubes? Biasing is very easy to do. It's not a lost art. That just it does not seem to be a selling point. Well, I really don't know too many amps that self-bias for one. And for anybody that is curious how to bias your own amp, there's this tool here by Eurotubes. It's what you do is when you're going to rebias, if you don't have bias points on your amp, you can take this thing and instead of using a multimeter that you're probing around inside your amp, you plug this in your socket of your amp, your octal socket, and then put the tube on top of it, and you get your reading here, and then you can do the math yourself. So yeah, I mean, I do all my own service myself, but Jarrod, in Michigan, we have Motor City Guitar. There's one dude in Detroit that's flaky, and then there's a shop in Bay City that does amp work that I know of, and you have to drive far as hell to get to those places. So yeah,
And leave your amp there, for weeks on end. And
yeah,
I mean, who wants to grab their heavy ass amp and drop it off and like, oh, I'll get to it in 2 weeks, and you're like without your amp. I mean, self biasing's awesome. Like, it really is. Like, it's like self-inflating tires. You
yeah,
put a tire on your car if you get a flat, and there you go. Off to the
dude.
races we go.
Dude, without a doubt, and even Dave Friedman has said this before, we live in a world now where people are quick to dispose rather than pick up tools themselves and fix it because they don't have the wherewithal to do so. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that don't know how to operate a soldering iron, how to properly
Yep.
solder, what the hell they're doing with anything. You have people that are jumping into forums and asking questions rather than doing the research themselves, picking up manuals and doing it the hard way, which is the way that I do ask questions, but typically I'm on Google looking stuff up and
Yeah.
trying to learn
Well,
from write-ups
yeah.
write-ups from 15 years ago.
Well, and the thing is I think a lot of times we don't really appreciate those types of features until we need them. It's like insurance, right? It's like, you pay your insurance bill every month and you don't really think about it. And you're like, God, this insurance is such a waste. Then there comes the day when you need it
Yeah.
and something happens to your vehicle. You get in an accident, the thing's all banged up to hell. And 2 weeks later, you got a brand new car. And you're like, you know what? Insurance is pretty cool. Maybe you broke your arm in the accident, insurance cover that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and you missed 2 weeks off of work, and guess what? Insurance covered that too. So it's like, I think insurance is pretty cool. And it's like the self-biasing tubes. It's like you don't appreciate it until the day your tubes go out, and you're like, oh God, I gotta get new tubes, and like, oh, wait a minute, I just got to put them in and flip the amp on. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those features you don't ever appreciate until you have to use it. But I'm telling you, it's nice to have. So it's like features like that. And Warm Chord was Jay said, what did he say? Friedmans are overpriced, in my opinion. I've owned the full JJ head alongside my Rev, and the value difference is crazy. Better tone and more usable features in the Rev. JJ had quality issues too. I mean, the thing is I don't want to, and I agree with Jay. I mean, I've played both, and the Rev it just kicks its ass all the way up and down the street in every aspect. And I'm definitely, again, I don't want to be banging on Friedman. It's not that. It's just they wouldn't even be in my sights right now if their price wasn't so high. It's like I just think that I think that if it was priced around 2 grand like it should be, I'd be like, yeah, go buy one. But $3,800, like, give me a break.
Yeah.
It's funny when I had him on my show a couple months ago. I posted like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have the Friedman amps on." I posted a picture, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky!" And I'm literally, and God bless people for being excited about it. I got no problem with that at all. I'm glad that people were excited. I'm glad all that stuff happened. But the whole time I have them down here, I'm thinking I'm not feeling the lucky. I'm not feeling like how lucky I am to have these things down here because I honestly, this is a better amplifier. This Kraken right here is a better amplifier than the Friedman. It just is. I mean, here's an amplifier that's hand built in England, okay? And it has actually two and a half amazing channels on it because it's got the first channel can either be a really like mid to almost high gain channel or a clean channel with a flick of a switch. It's got that really nice kind of rich kind of tone in it. The clean channel is amazing. The high gain channel 2 is like off the charts amazing.
Yeah.
It's fully MIDI capable, has its own built-in boost, has a resonance knob in the back, and you can control every one of these switches here. All of them, even this one here, are fully MIDI controllable. And it sounds incredible, and it can run off of either 6L6 or EL34s, and it's just an incredible amp, and it sounds way better than the Friedman amp does. And I know that's all subjective as far as sound and feel goes, but this thing sounds and feels way better, and it's 2 grand.
Right.
And it's like, and I'll give you guys another example. The housing market. I would love to get, $300,000 for my house. Let's just say, like, let's just throw a number up, 300 grand for my house. And I could call a realtor and say, well, come on over. I want to put my house on the market. And they can be like, all right, how much you looking to get? Well, I want $300,000. And I'll be like, all right, well, let's open up our portfolio of $300,000 houses in your area. Well, here's one for $300,000 and it's twice the size of yours. And it has these features and those features and this and that, this school district and blah, 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 and this kind of landscaping. And you're like, okay, well, maybe they just got lucky. Let's look at some more. Well, after they look at like several houses with me, they're going to be like, well, how do you feel about that $300,000 price now? Because here's houses that are around, 200,000 and they have very similar features to your house. Maybe we should sell it for that because I think you're kind of crazy if you're going to put your house on the market for 300 grand and people are going to tour through it and go, yeah, this is pretty cool, but that one that we saw right before here for $300,000 that was twice the size and had much nicer features
Yeah.
in comparison. I think, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the same thing. Like, why would you buy an amplifier with 2 channels on it and a switch and no other features on it just because of a name and some kind of legendary status? when you can have this that sounds better and has way more features, way more flexibility,
Right.
and I mean, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
this amp has tons of hype too, and it lives up to it all, and
if
it's not that much.
if I was in the market for a new vehicle today, and I had to go out there and pick, between a brand new work truck, just like a basic base model work truck for $26,000, or I could
Hmm.
buy a used vehicle on the certified lot for $16,000 that is loaded with heated seats, heated steering wheel, has a full size bed like I'm after. I'm gonna go for the used one. If the mile, if it checks out and it's certified low miles and stuff like that,
Yeah,
absolutely any day of the week.
yeah,
Why? Because I'm going to
yep,
be ultimately, happier. I can start it from my phone, and the
yeah,
work
yeah.
truck, you have to go
It's
outside and
cool.
you have to open the door and start it yourself and then go back inside.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for these days. And again, I'm not ragging on Friedman or whatever. I love his cabs. I got his cabs here. I've had his amps on the show a few times, and I think they're good amps. They're well made, no problem. But it's just when you look at the price tag and you compare them to other amps on the market, it's like, dude, you're asking way too much money for your amps, and they all sound the same. They're all just BE 100s with just different switches and a little bit of different voicing stuff on them here and there. But that's really all they are. It's like, well, here's a BE 100 that has a switch on it that changes the voicing 10%, and this one's $4,500, and it's red, and it's
Yeah.
like, really, come on, and it was funny too when I was watching the NAM videos, and I was watching that one dude from Boutique playing the Soldano, and he's playing it through with a Telecaster, which I thought was kind of comical. And he's playing like dad rock riffs on it. It's like, that's a metal amp. What are you doing? Number one. Number two, the interviewer's like, well, how much are these going for? And Mike's just sitting there. Mike's a very nice guy. I've never heard a bad story about Mike. He's just a sweetheart.
He's
But he was
incredible.
just kind of sitting there, and what's that?
He's amazing.
Yeah, I heard he's just a great guy. So he's just kind of sitting there and he looks at the guy. He's like, well, he handles, you know, all that pricing stuff now. It's not really my thing because Mike's on the golf course enjoying his life. Boutique's making all the stuff now. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But this guy's like, well, we wanted to make them very affordable. So the 30 watt's going to be 2,500. And I'm just like, I almost lost my lunch.
That's
I'm like, are
affordable?
he, what?
To who?
Yeah, this Ferrari here is very affordable. It's $250,000. Wanted to make sure like even the blue collar worker can have one. Yeah, because we care that much. Like, give me a freaking break. And then the guy's like, well, how much is the 100 watt? Well, it's going to be around $4,000. Maybe a little more. If you want different Tolex and this and that, it's going to be $250 markup on that, this and that. And he's just saying it like, whatever. And I'm just sitting there going, dude, stop trying to dress up your insulting prices with, well, we wanted to make it affordable for everybody. It's a doctor and lawyer amp. Give me a freaking break. These guys are going to buy this and play it once and go, yep, I'll put it in the study and show it off when I have company. Yeah, look at my Soldano. Yeah, got a Soldano here in the corner. Paid $2,500 for that little rascal. Yep, you
I'm
can't afford it. I
here,
can.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it
There,
should
there are
be.
there are a lot of people that can't afford that kind of stuff, and all power
No.
to them. Yeah, there are. There's a gear forum I'm involved with that. There's a guy on there. He runs the page that has every single amp ever. Like, I would love to just hang out at his house for a day because he
Sure.
has
That'd be
everything.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he has. I mean, there are just some people that honestly can't afford it and don't have a problem paying that kind of money. Unfortunately, the reality is for everybody else, it's not affordable, and that's what sucks. I mean, yeah, you could save up and maybe get it one day, but should it be that price for a 100-watt amp? I don't think it should be $4,000.
No.
I think
No,
I
I
think if
don't.
anything, 3,500 at max, out the door
Yeah.
after tax, shipping included.
Yeah. I just think that there's a point where amps just get way too expensive. And it's just like, really? I mean, come on. And again, like, I used to work retail, and I remember some lady came in and was like getting uppity with my boss, the store manager, about a price of something. And she's like, I think these prices are ridiculous and you need to do this and do that. And he was like, ma'am, you don't dictate our prices, our competition does.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what
true
I mean?
too.
It's like look at your competition, see what they're doing that's comparable to what you're doing, and price yourself accordingly. But on the other end, if you can find enough people that will buy your product at your extraordinarily high prices and they're just continuing to buy them, well, I guess just keep charging that much,
Yeah.
because that's how capitalism works and it's fine. I don't have a problem with it, but I just don't see why people spend that much money on certain types of amplifiers out there, especially ones that lack so many features and so many options tonally, to the point where it's like, why would you buy that when you can have something like this for way less? And this isn't a bargain amp. It's an amazing amplifier. It's a boutique amp, but these guys wanted, they just this is a boutique amp that's priced fairly for people who just love great tone, and it's worth every penny. This thing is made very well, and it sounds incredible. So I got no problem with the pricing of this amplifier at all. I really don't. I don't know. I just think it's going to be interesting when the Soldanos come out. I'll have them on the channel. I'll review them, and I'll give them a fair review, and I'll play through them, and I'll probably really like them very much. But that's one amp that I'll bring back to the store after the review and go, I had fun with these. These are great, and I'm sure people will enjoy them. I enjoyed them, but I'm not going to buy one for the price that they're tagged at. It's just not
Yeah.
something I would do. Not because I hate the amp, but it's just, Ferraris are amazing too, but I'm not going to part with that kind of money to have a vehicle. I
That's
don't
for
have
sure.
that kind of disposable income laying around. you know?
Well, man, I just want to do like a quick check here. So, all right. Andrew says he has to get out of here and play some guitar. I know I have work tomorrow. Um, we did touch on some good topics tonight, and I
Yeah,
think
we
that
did.
this is just typical banter between Jarrod and I that we'd have on the phone, and the
Yep.
fact that you guys took the time to I want to read through all these comments too and watch the live chat back because there's some good stuff in here, and I wish we could have addressed everything, but we were giving examples and just different situations that we come across and some kind of shady stuff and I think that Jarrod and I are both um, equally we're morally driven to ensure that people are happy with the money they're parting with, the
Oh, for
the
sure.
the end
You know,
result, and for me that's huge. Not everybody needs to play a Kramer guitar to make me happy, or the amps or pedals I use or pickups I use. You don't have to use any of this stuff. It's if there's something for $30 that will get you by and you're happy with it, I'm going to tell you to get that $30 thing over this $200 thing that does the same thing. If I've already done the research, I'm going to tell you to get that. Jarrod's the same way, and
yeah.
I'm a huge advocate. So if you guys could, anybody that's from my channel watching, go over to Tone Wars. What is it? YouTube.com/Tone Wars.
Yep. Tone Wars. Yep. There's the flames. You'll see the flames and the Tone Wars in there. That's
The
what you'll
TW.
see.
Yep. And you
Yeah.
go live
TW.
every Wednesday night.
Yeah. Every Wednesday at 8, and every Sunday with Carrie, my co host, we go live at 7. Eastern daylight time this time of year. And yeah, so that's what we do. I do gear reviews. So I instead of like shooting a gear review and editing it and posting it up, I go live with them. So it's like an interactive thing. I'll have an amp right here and I'll play through my mixes and you can hear it. And then we just discuss things, and like whoever watches can be like, what would it sound like if you did this? And I'll be like, well, let's find out. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's turn the knobs. Let's hear it without the overdrive. Let's hear it with some effects. Let's hear it this way, that way, and these kinds of mixes. And I play live, and yeah, it's fun. We have a good time. Everybody just gets a glass of whiskey. I have it down here with me, and we just freaking let it rip, man. Have a good time, and I do tutorials. Sometimes I'll do, like I did Sunday, or the other day I did the review of presets. So it's different all the time. I try to keep it loose. Um, and do things like that. But yeah, it's fun. That's what I do. And going off of what you said too, like I'm all about just good gear. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care if it's $30, $300, or 3,000. As long as it's worth it, I don't care. I'm not a cork sniffer snob. I just like stuff that sounds good. and if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and yeah, that's pretty much it, just trying to keep it real here.
Yeah. And what I want my viewers to know, anybody that's watching this back, is, and it does intend to go over to Jarrod's channel, is he's also not the kind of person that can be bought off by companies, which for
No,
me is huge. Like, you know,
thank you.
there's a lot of shills that are on the platform here and will accept product in return for just endless praise and
Yeah.
um, you know,
And they're
all that.
laughing all the way to the bank while you're crying all the way to the poorhouse
It's
buying
so
stuff that's
sad,
just
man.
stupid.
But that's the reality of what we have here on YouTube. I mean, there you have some guys that unfortunately do that, and they're just trying to make a living. I understand, but there's also
Yeah.
people like us that know better, and we try to make people aware when we can in a respectful
Well,
way.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of the channels that are supposed to be gear reviewers are just turning into QVC channels for gear. And it's just like, it's just sad. It's like gear QVC. And, it's just really sad, because people are buying stuff based on what these influencers are saying. And I mean, if I tell you something's good, if I really like it, that means I like it. There are times I have amps on my show, and I'll be like, well, let me do some songs with it, do playthroughs and stuff. And the reason why I do that is I'm not the end all be all. So it's not like I have to like this in order for it to be considered good for the community. It's like, no, I'm not the gatekeeper of all things good. So I'll have amps on that are not my favorite amps and I'll play them. And there's obviously reasons why people buy them, because it suits their taste. So I'll do those as well. Like the Friedmans. I had the Friedmans on. They're not my favorite amplifiers, but they don't suck. They're great amps, but they don't work for me, especially for the price. But I'll still demo them and review them on the show, and I'll remain neutral on that. You won't see me going, oh my God, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. I'll just be like, well, that's what it sounded like in a mix. Supported all the stuff I did, sounded pretty good. Any questions? I'll read the questions. We'll have a back and forth. But with this amp, I played it in several mixes and I was like, oh my God, I looked at the camera, I started pounding, like, go buy one of these. I was excited about it. So you'll see that with me. I'll get more animated with products that I love and I'll be a little more kind of even keeled with ones that are like, I can see why people like this, but it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So that's how you know. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna get some food, man. I'm freaking starving.
Do it up, man. I want to thank you for taking the time to jump on and troubleshoot this before you even went live, man. And by the
Yeah,
way,
you're welcome.
your hair looks great. So
It's basically bus washer. I did wear a hat all day. I took a shower and I just kind of ran a brush through it real quick and said the hell with it, man. It's dark down here. No one
dude,
will
I've
know.
been working remote, so like the past 5 days I haven't shaved or anything or
Yeah.
showered.
Is what it
I was like, I gotta do all this before we do the live stream.
it is what it is, man. Jeff Talley, good seeing you here. Ben Burnett, good seeing you here. And Ben Rossum, I think I have a Metroplex and love it. Andrew Stone Rock, good seeing you. Warm Chord, good seeing you. And Darren Moore, good seeing you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I left anybody out, but I'm seeing the chat here. So, but yes, and people from my channel subscribe to Jamie's as well. He does a lot of gear reviews and tutorials as well.
Thanks,
So,
folks.
all right, man. Well, you guys all have a good night, and I'll see you guys Sunday at 7 with Carrie. And we'll be live and let the shenanigans continue then.
All right, Jarrod, smoke crack.
All right, drink cigarettes.
Oh, I just collected a stockpile of cigarette butts that somebody just dropped on the
Cigarette
guy.
butt water is
Yeah,
the
yeah. From
best.
the, I'm gonna change the channel name to Cigarette Butt Wars.